Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We want to start with, uh, let's start with our usual, taking just a few minutes to think of at least 10 things that you had to be grateful for. And have the recording started? Make sure. Okay,
Yes, it
great.
has.
Okay, great. All right, just take a few moments. If you haven't done so, it's always best to write it down. It's just something about writing. The way your hand relates and works to your brain, something about picking up a utensil and writing. I think you guess you could, if need be, use your fingers and type on the keyboard, but just something about writing, having those strokes, and the movement. When you take those words and help imprint them upon your psyche, upon your conscious brain as well as your subconscious part of your brain. And I think that's part of the process. So just take a few moments if you haven't done so. And if you're
Instructor,
not, yes, go right ahead.
I just wanted to ask if it was okay for me to just interject really quickly. I wanted to add to the gratitude, if that's okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Sure.
I was just talking to my husband about it yesterday, and when I wake up in the morning now, I made it a routine for me to when I wake up, the first I try my best to not start with my phone. That one's a tough one. But your phone is always right by your bedside, and you want to, what's the next thing that's I can doom scroll is what they call it. I try my best to make that short or cut that out completely. And then obviously use the bathroom, relieve yourself. And then right after that, and kind of wash my face. I do my ritual uh, cleansing, so to speak, and I maintain it for the sake of transferring my mind
Mm,
out of the state that I was in to go into the state of what the start of the day is. So I maintain it for the sake of preparing
mm,
what my purpose and intention is going to be. And I always give myself a moment to think, what is the intention of today's prayer? Or of me coming to Allah to have the two-way conversation.
mm,
Um, to make that dual, right? Two-way conversation is a little different. And then I think about the salat as preserving what Allah is guiding us and to allow that preservation to sit within me so that I can lead the rest of my day with that. I typically do 2 rak'ah, simple. I'll say a few surahs to recite them because something about the routine and hearing it and you saying it yourself keeps it preserved, i.e., that. But I instantly follow up with speaking to Allah about what I am grateful for first. I have not, I've counted it once, not by literally one, two, three, but I know I'm saying more than 10 gratitude statements every time I do it. And when I start the day with that, one, I'm able to be candid when I'm speaking with Allah, for starters. But two, I'm able to examine things that you were complaining about yesterday, the night before, what's going to happen later in the day. I'm able to start with the framing of appreciation and gratitude. And one of the newest ones that, oops, I mean, you're unmuted.
I'm sorry.
Is that all right? So one of the newest gratitudes that I've discovered over the past few weeks, or sorry, strong seven, was being grateful for the systems that Allah has created, that there is security and certainty in it, that we can say, tomorrow I will meet you, or in 2 weeks, I plan to go to New York. In a year from now, this is my goal. And Allah has created such a reliable system, one that none of us could have ever done, that we can say that. And that's something I never thought to be grateful for,
Mm,
but it just really opened up for me and like how everything is aligned as it should, whether we might, as you said to me, Instructor William earlier, you might think a day is a bad day or a bad situation, but it's all within Allah's plan. And it doesn't mean it's good or bad in a sense of morality. It just is. And then we have to roll with it and trust and have that iman. So I just wanted to say that when I talk to my husband now, I'll get up in the morning, I talk to him, I said, this is what I prayed for, and this is what I spoke with God about. Obviously, I have to go back and forth because he's Christian and he understands what Allah is. He understands it all, but I go back and forth, just respect. And it really inspires him because he's like, yeah, that's amazing. And I told him that one person who has a major influence on that is Instructor William, whether I'm fully engaged in the class, whether I'm doing 10 different things at one time, that subconscious repetition of gratitude, write down your gratitudes, whether you physically write it, which I agree with you. I am someone who likes to physically write pen and paper. I'm old school like that. But whether you do that or you write it in your mind or you write it within your existence and you keep repeating it. I told him Instructor Williams is a big proponent in ensuring that daily I am expressing my gratitudes. So I just really wanted to put that out there and make sure you knew how effective and powerful something that might seem like routine for you is for people. I don't know what everyone's doing when they get home or if they're one step closer to what you are guiding us in, but I don't miss. I get up every day and I do the same thing. I kept telling myself, don't quit, don't give up on it because it's going to lead you in a more enlightening or what do you call Sirat, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, right? An upwards path. So I just wanted to say that really quickly. And I didn't mean to interject, but I had to throw that in there. It seemed like the right time for me.
Perfect timing. That was the intro for today right there, because see, it's again, it's about living this life. I mean, that's what international instructors are going to talk about today. That's what Muhammad Abdul, I'm looking at him now, brother Imran. That's what Sister Karima is going to talk about. I'm sure all of us are talking about life, living the life, living it fully. And there's no better way to do it than to live it in gratitude. I mean, there's no substitute for that, you know. And it brings you, keeps you on point, keeps you in the moment, keeps you in tune with the fitra. And what the engaging gratitude, it puts you it brings the future into the now. And it's as if your prayer, if you want to call it that, your dua, your salat, whatever you want to call it, you're projecting, uh, you're manifesting whatever you see in terms of the future. It brings it into the present moment and as if it has already happened. And there's no better way to start your day and throughout the day, just to remind you, just that return, that constant returning to Allah. If you stay in a mode of gratitude, then that's your constant return. That's your constant return. Say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So not only have Allah positioned His relationship with us in terms of the Rahman, in terms of that environment, that womb, that support that we need to live the life that He created us in and for. But then, as we has a tendency to drift in this duality that we live in, we bring ourselves back on point through what? Through gratitude. So that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And with that being said, I'm going, inshallah, next the next class. I want to spend some time. I'm starting uh, a 7-part series with some young people here in the Atlanta area. This coming Wednesday, I'm taking a 90-minute class environment and just sharing with them these 7 elements or these 7 steps that Allah has given us in Surah Al-Ham, the 7 ayat. And I'm taking each one of those and I'm sharing with them in terms of each one of them being a step or a stage in our growth and development process. And I'm taking that the first Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and presenting it uh, as an, a purpose, a situating ourselves so that we align ourselves, elevate our thinking, tune ourselves with what Allah has prepared for us in terms of the fitra of our very creation, positioning us to be in a constant state of being reminded. The comments you made about gratitude was perfect in that sense. So in other words, in the next month and a half, I'll be spending at least an hour and a half with some young people right here in the Atlanta area, sharing what we have benefited from in this class environment. That's why I'm sharing that with you now. And so I will be sharing that with you in my introductory remarks for the next month and a half or so. Uh, so I had intended to share some of it today, but what you just shared now covers the waterfront. So there's no need for me to go any further with that. So let's open up officially with Surah Al-Hum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين صدق الله العظيم. So we're going to get
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Just a short break in there. Nawa, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shukran.
Shukran, shukran. Thank
Alhamdulillah. So we have a special presentation. Uh, one of the newer members to our class environment, but only new in terms of uh, maybe a short time of actually being actively engaged in our online meeting environment on Zoom. But he's been with us for some time in terms of following uh, the the direction that international instructor Benjamin Bilal has been giving us in his presentations and what he's been giving us online. This brother has dedicated himself, as you'll be able to see in his presentation, that he has dedicated himself to really taking it seriously and taking it upon himself to explore the use. Again, the use. Allah said He gives us utility of the heavens and the earth. And this brother has taken the time to uh, jump on board and getting, uh, and they say the old saying about getting your feet wet. He's jumped in full force, you know, and he's came in looking at how he could take the lead from the national instructor and then expand it and just voluntarily, just look at other words where the same concept or the same idea applies. And he's done a good job at that. So much so that a national instructor asked him to present some of his findings with us. So with that, I will take this talking stick and turn it over to brother Imran.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. Yes, my name is Imran. I'm connecting you from Vancouver, BC, Canada. Um, I've been on YouTube for a while and I've dealt with a lot of knowledge, a lot of useful knowledge, a lot of knowledge that's not good for you. And finally, when I found Lunetics, it's just rocket ship type knowledge. It's just I've never I used to know a lot of things, but when I started with Lunetics, it just took off. Like this, what I'm about to show you today, it's quite unique. So let me share my screen. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق أَوَلَمْ يَكْفِ بِرَبِّكَ أَنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. We will show them our signs in the universe and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this Quran is the truth. Is it not enough for your Lord is a witness over all things? So within the frameworks of Lunatics, instructor Benjamin Bilal identifies the Muhammadan reality, which I have understood as the Al-Salam mindset, as a universal archetype for achieving absolute internal peace. This is the foundational blueprint for establishing perfect equilibrium within the self to, to uncover this truth. We look past the limitations of traditional academia and literature of men. Instead, we analyze the hardware of the Creator, the celestial archetype of the heavens, and the biological design of the human body. This presentation maps the specific geometric function alignment between the North Star, which is Polaris, the fixed center of orientation, the Big Dipper, Ursa Major, the celestial mechanism of motion, and the pineal gland, the biological receiver, and the center within our own brain. In this system, the Fitra acts as the innate operating system, the pre-installed code that executes this construct program directly within our biology. Okay, so let's begin with the Big Dipper, a constellation located in the northern part of the sky that consists of 7 stars, just like how the Quran begins with the 7 ayahs. Interestingly, when you connect it all, it looks like the letter meme. This is the visual construct of the Big Dipper. We can see with our own eyes the archetype program manifesting in the physical sky. Everything revolves around a singular fixed point, the North Star. Each solar year, the Big Dipper appears throughout the 4 seasons, showcasing one of the oldest symbols in human history, the swastika, associated with Buddhism, Hinduism, and linked to Nazis. However, at its essence, it revolves around the core or the center. Inside our architecture, the fixed North Star is the pineal gland. When you track the Big Dipper, a fixed constellation of 7 stars over 4 seasons, it physically constructs a perfect 4-folded rotational cross. From the 4 cardinal points, the pineal gland is the center, just like the North Star. So the pineal gland, or this is just the same as above, so below. And Allah, as He says in that same verse that I recited in the beginning, it's the sign that's within yourselves. So the pineal gland is a tiny pine cone shaped endocrine gland located deep in the center of our brain. This is Kufic Arabic. Kufic Arabic is one of the oldest and most distinctive styles of writing of Arabic calligraphy. So as you can see, this is the meme, and these are alphabets. This is the meme, and this is the Prophet Muhammad's name in a 4-folded Kufic style writing. So the meme connection. Look closely at the geometry of the Big Dipper. Its bowl forms a closed 4-cornered square with a tail in ancient square Kufic calligraphy called Banai. This exact square shape represents the Arabic letter meme. Through the 4 seasons, the shifting position of the Big Dipper naturally maps out a rotating 4-fold swastika shape. Impressively, when the name of the Prophet Muhammad is arranged in a traditional 4-fold square Kufic design, it creates that same geometric pattern. This is the ancient symbol of peace and slow motion, or slow movement, to distinguish it from the 20th century political appropriation. So this is the sign. Until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. So the Big Dipper, the human pineal gland, and Muhammad in Kufic Arabic. Interesting to note that the archetype begins with meme, which phonetically sounds like me. It's a subtle reminder that the construct of the truth of this pattern is ultimately found in the vessel of me, inside the human vessel. So, I mean, there's a lot of words that connect with meme, even to get to the word meaning, right? A membrane. It's all, we have the word. A lot of these cultures might have rituals, they might have something else, but we have the word, and the word is programmed for your brain. So this is just another art that I made showing that the pattern of the center or the core. Okay, so Amitabha is known as the Buddha of infinite life, light and life, a central figure in Mahayana Buddhism, who established a sanctuary of perfect peace called the Pure Land. He represents the heart of the universal compassion, offering a path to enlightenment that is accessible to everyone through simple faith and sincere mindfulness. This is Amida, the Ahmed connection. Maulana Abdul Haq Vidyarthi, the foundation of the phonetic link between the infinite light and the Prophet Muhammad is attributed to Maulana Abdul Haq Vidyarthi. In his massive work, Muhammad in World Scriptures, he was the first major scholar to argue that Amida or Amitabha is a Pure Land tradition is a direct phonetic and conceptual prophecy of Ahmed. He also famously links the Buddhist prophecy of Maitreya, the Buddha of mercy, to the description of Muhammad as Rahmatul lil Alameen, a mercy to the worlds. We see the shared hardware right down to the vocal cords. Millions of Buddhists chant daily Amida, the Buddha of light, of infinite light. Phonetically, Amida travels the same physiological vocal circuitry as Ahmed, the primordial light. Furthermore, the Buddhist highest meditative state is called Maha Mudra. Maha means great, and Mudra means seal, the great seal. Prophet Muhammad is known as the Great Seal, or the Seal of the Prophets. When a Tibetan monk says Maha Mudra, they aren't inventing a new word, they are just using the universal human hardware to construct the same truth, literally. So in conclusion, or in summary, the universe is not outside of us, it is mirrored within us. The seven-star constellation called the Big Dipper looks like a meme. In one solar year or in 4 seasons, it forms the shape of a swastika while going around the North Star. The swastika looks exactly like the name of the Prophet Muhammad in fourfold Kufic Arabic script. The Big Dipper, the swastika, the Muhammad, and Kufic have the same pattern revolving around the center. The pineal gland follows the same pattern of being located in the center of the brain. The names Amida and Maha Mudra have connections to the name Muhammad. The Big Dipper looks like meme. Muhammad begins with meme, which means Yasin, wal Quran al Hakim, innaka laminal mursaleen. Yasin, by the Quran, rich in wisdom, you are truly amongst the messenger. So all praise be to Allah. Thank you, Allah. Thank you, Instructor Benjamin Bilal. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for paying attention. May Allah be with you all. Jazakallah khair.
Wonderful.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Shukran,
Yes,
shukran, Imran, shukran
absolutely.
jazilan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I'm glad you
Beautiful.
aboard. I'm glad you aboard with us. Shukran. See,
Thank you.
we have open minds here. We absorbed. You just started something on your end now. Shukran jazilan.
Thank you.
Tremendous contribution.
You know,
Wonderful.
this is so timely for us because we have, it's we are at this stage right now, and I'll turn this talking stick over to Nawa in a minute. But we're at this stage right now in our development as a class and as an Ummah here in the United States of America, as they call this place that we're in, uh, we're at a stage right now where Allah has leveled the playing field and have pretty much turned what we've known in the past, pretty much turned it to dust. It's good. I mean, it's done. It's finished. It's through. And what we've known, what they've called the West, it has yielded now, and there's a new creation that's happening, and we are actively engaged. You may not recognize that just yet, but in your life right now, as a part of this class environment and part of the Nunetics environment, you and I, we are engaged and we're actively engaged. We're at the forefront, maybe not at the very front, but we're in there in this process of creating, uh, bringing into manifestation uh, the life as the law has intended for the human being, for humanity, to move out of doing into being. We're an active part, you and I, and I keep saying that because I want you to hear it. And for a brother like Imran, who have been actively engaged himself, and what he said about uh, how he saw what this environment, this Nunetics environment was producing online, it really excited him and got him engaged and brought him to be an active member of our class. That's a strong indicator of what time that we're in right now. The whole world needs what we're doing. This whole world needs what we are bringing to the forefront, to the forebrain. To that part of the brain where we actually make decisions about what we want for our life. As Nawa was saying, uh, when you do the gratitude, uh, when you get into that exercise, what you do is you are actually bringing things to the forefront of your mind, and you are
The
actually.
frontal lobe.
Yes, right into the frontal lobe where you make decisions. That's where the creation part is done. That's where using your rational, the part of your brain, you're using the creative part of your brain, and there's going to be a lot of attention to that today what most people would call the medical side, from our dear sister, master instructor Karima, from the presentation as it relates to being a true Muslim, a true human, from what Muhammad Abdullah will share in terms of the cosmic dimension of where we're headed. So we'll
Instructor William,
yes,
I have one comment I want to make.
please.
Um, yes, sir. That was truly a wonderful presentation, and it reminds me of I was turned on a couple of wonderful books by Master Instructor Karima Medina Bilal. Uh, One of them was titled Microbiotics, you know, in cookbook, and it's really dealing with what Brother Imran just dealt with, the four seasons, and it talks about eating, you know, uh, the best food, but doing it within the seasons in mind. So it reminded me of that, talking about the balance and maintaining and creating that balance that we need for holistic and productive life. That was the comment.
All right, alhamdulillah.
Mhm.
And Karima has her hand up. Let's allow her to share her thought. I tell you what I'll do. 'Cause I'm going to have to bow out. I will turn this over to this talking stick over to Nawa, and I'm going to put my uh, email address and my telephone number in so that all of you who don't have it and who want to contact me can. I'm actually looking for some people that want to actively engage what we're doing in Nunetics and to form a not necessarily as a part of the class, but as a part of those who are wanting to reach out and take this information and share it with whatever environment you're in right now, whatever city you're in, and actually take this information and package it so that people can utilize it. If you want to be a part of that effort, I'm going to put my telephone number and my email address in the chat so that you'll have it available so you can copy it and paste it. With that, I'll turn the talking stick over to Nawa and she will take whatever other comments we have.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was a great presentation. I'm going to withhold my feedback. We have two hands raised, but right before we go into the hands that we have raised, I had a question. I think Gary Wayne is not able to be on camera and things, but he did have a question like shortly after, and I wanted to just ask that first. So forgive me, Kareem and Salia. It's a question for you, Imran. I think you've seen it. Why does it look like a
Yeah.
swastika was his first question. And then second was, Imran, that was a bad emblem back in the Nazi days. Were the Nazi onto something with the emblem?
Yeah, so when this is like another presentation that I have in my mind, but basically to put it really simple, if you want to create something, anything, like a product, if you want to use like the best way to do anything, you have to copy the way Allah did it. So for example, the US military, they had a problem with that their jet planes were going too fast and that the wind force was damaging the engine. And they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. So they looked at the fastest falcon. I forgot it, Peregrine Falcon, I think it's called. And it looked at its nose. How does that bird fly straight down at the highest speed and not collapse its wings? And they noticed that in its nose there was this little, if you remember, if you look at a turbine, there's a little at the very center of it, there's a little, how would you say, like a little notch
Yes.
that kind of filters out the air. So if you want to be the fastest in the air, you have to copy how Allah created it. So similarly, why does it look like a swastika? It's because they're copying the truth. That's it. It's as simple as that. And when it says here the bad emblem, why do the Nazis do it? It's because they don't want you to know the truth. So they want to give you the poison first, so that if you have a taste of poison in you, when you taste the truth, you're like, oh no, I have this aftertaste of this poison, of this swastika, right? The Nazi symbol. So it's like a manipulation of the way you think. When you see something, they've already programmed you to have this Nazi emblem in your mind, right? So that's
Thank
what I
you
have
for
to
that.
say. Mhm.
I think master instructor Karima said peregrine falcon. Does that sound right? Was the word you were looking
Yeah,
for?
yeah,
Yep,
that is it.
peregrine
Yeah.
falcon. Yep. Okay. And I'm gonna give the mic over to Karima, but I think that's that verse about the mutashabiha is probably what you want to refer to in order to understand how they warped or flipped Allah's original message. Um, Karima, you can go, and then after Karima, we'll have Salia.
Welcome, Brother Iram. I cannot follow you because you are way above me in
No,
your
no.
understanding. But what I look at is from our history of how our people doing when they was enslaved, how they used the North Star
Hmm.
to focus on how to get from the plantation to where they would attain freedom. And I'm also thinking about how they use the natural future environment to enhance whatever they was going through. Some of the innate, inherent intelligence was there. They used it. They also used the Big Dipper I'm going to not say a lot about that, but they used what they called on the plantation a dipper, which they used to carry. They had a water called a water boy who used the dipper to feed, to give water to the enslaved people. And so to me, all of that is very symbolic and understanding and how they use nature to get and to keep their minds, so to speak, free, although they was planning their way to escape. So they use nature a lot in terms of how they use the moon, the sun, etc., to get to where they wanted to be. So I understand and I appreciate your presentation. It was excellent. I have looked at some things, especially the letter mean, and we know that comes again. We can use it in terms of, well, I'm not going to go there, but morality, rationality, and all of this other things that goes from genetics. But yeah, the service was excellent that you brought out, especially Yassine. I very much appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to kind of going back through and understanding of how the Cufic lettering, I could see the dipper and how you made it in Muhammad, but it would take a little bit more of understanding how to appreciate it. And I think we did use our pineal gland. It was activated. It's that we had to be very careful in how we presented our pineal gland in keeping us safe and keeping our families safe. So I'm grateful for hearing your lecture.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
I'm
so much.
looking forward to hearing more from you. And I love the name because I was researching that name yesterday in terms of Moses, Musa. And so I'm still studying. I'm not near close to where you are, but I'm striving.
Well, I'm
Thank you
very,
so
very
much.
happy to be a part of this family. Um, there's not many people I even tell this type of information that's I'm gonna get something back. It's usually just, oh wow, okay, now what's next? But alhamdulillah, it's people who appreciate it and that I could share and that they can benefit off of it. And then it makes us even more closer to the truth. Like, how much more closer is this? Like now, because of Nunetics, the samawat is literally what Instructor Benjamin Bilal said. It's within our mindset. It's literally our pineal gland. So these signs are now manifesting. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you, Farima. That was beautifully provided as well. Um, correct me, whoever's in here. I know I have a lot of instructors, but 3:7, Surah 3:7, in Ali Imran, that's what I was talking about with Shabahats, made to appear like something, made to resemble, to liking, but not necessarily being that. The swastika question, that was for you, Gary, and anyone else who had it. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but that's what I instantly thought of that ayah. Now we're going to give it to Salia, and she's going to give her response.
Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Assalamu alaikum, Imran, and
Alaikum salam.
welcome. I really, really appreciated your presentation, and I wrote a few issues down. Um, the Big Dipper to meme to the swastika. I really appreciated that. I learned from that. I didn't really relate that before, but it is relative, all of the symbolism. And also I want to say about the swastika that it's not only the Nazis that had that symbol. I just saw it someplace in one of my videos. I'm doing a lot of documentaries on the space people. And back in not prehistoric times, I'm saying the time of the Egyptian hieroglyphs
It's an
and
African sign of the
Sumeria,
cross.
that symbol appeared back then, way before the Nazis. So
That's right.
somehow or another it got applied to something negative. I don't remember what it meant.
I've noticed that with when it comes to positive and negative energy, people usually have a strong correlation or strong connection to the negative side.
Negative
For
stuff.
some
Yeah.
reason, I don't understand why.
It's the I don't want to say teaching, but it's just the way life is. There's a positive side and a negative side to everything. So
Mhm.
mashallah. The other thing I wanted to say was thank you for the ayats. And if you don't mind, could you send your presentation to me or those of us who'd
Yeah,
like to
sure.
see it? And you mentioned the four corners of the dipper, and you related that to the seasons. And I have been saying that in the Quran, I don't remember which ayat it is, where Allah mentioned the 4 months being sacred. And
Mm,
I always attribute those months to those seasons relative to
right.
the changing and the center of the North Star and the planetary. So, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Um, I relate that because somewhere in our deen, they have named those months. And I'm like, well, where did we get the names for those months? Allah never specified the names. He just said, out of the 12, four are sacred. I didn't see the names in the Quran of those months.
Mhm.
So, and of course, Ramadan isn't one of them. So, Alhamdulillah. And the last thing, I think I said that. Oh, and somebody mentioned something about the truth, and I remind us all, Allah is the truth. He is Al-Haq. So anything in the fitra is the truth, and we can relate it to our source creator. And thank you, brother, again. I really learned from that, and I'd like to see a copy of it. I appreciate it. Shukran.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you so much for your words.
Alhamdulillah, that was beautifully stated. Very good points that you made. Really help it to really land and allow for our brother Imran to expand. He said, I was thinking of another lesson. Don't think about it, just do it. Thank you. Give us another one. We're hungry for it. Why'd you put your hand down, Ahmed? You had your hand up.
Oh,
I don't forget. Go
Assalamu
ahead. We're
alaikum.
waiting. Walaikum
No,
salam.
no, I was just gonna say to Sister Karima, she opened up, she said, I can't follow you. And I wanted to tell her that's not true. She can follow him. It's just that when we go into a dark room, it takes a while for our eyes to adjust.
Mhm.
So she's gonna be where he is if she wants to in just a matter of time. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, we needed that. That was a great analogy. Thank you. Is there anyone else who has anything else to say, or you could just probably still be processing it? I don't blame you. I processed because I've heard about the swastika, for example, and it's actually coming from it has a different origin than what we've associated it with. So seeing that picture that you put together, the Big Dipper, the season, it is actually very clear to me, but it's just a little scary to think
Mhm.
something that we've been programmed to believe is wrong or had that negative connotation added to it for at least the last 100 years now. It's a little like, I need to investigate. So really, shukran for that. That was a solid
Salam
presentation.
alaikum, rahmatullah.
The pictures too. That really helped a lot because now it's in my mind. I can't miss that. It reminds me of a bark like a QR code. So
Mhm.
that's a whole nother presentation there. Adib, go ahead. You good to go, brother.
Salam alaikum, rahmatullah.
Like you
It's
said.
it's it's we appreciate what you cultivated for us, and also it allows us that we too can do the same thing in our own light from what we have. I think Nunetics has been that cushion or that bed that we could rise up and align ourselves with the truth.
Mhm.
It's said in Alif Lam Mim Dhalika Kitabu La Rayba Fihi Hudan lil Muttaqin. This is this is the book. This is how we cultivate. This is how we read. This is how we bring our mind, because the most important about this is the brain, is that we connect to the intellect. A word, each word is a message to the mind. And what we're collecting the harvesting is from anybody that comes with their harvest that's sharing with us. We can appreciate and we can also learn new ways of growing and describing things. And I think that not only was it was powerful, it was enlightening because all that is what we have inside about the signs in the heavens and the earth and in ourselves. And we as New Next, we appreciate the contribution that you made today. Shukran.
Thank you.
Yeah, I second that. Salia and Karima, did you have anything new to say, or did you just not
Now
lower
I
your
have a
hands?
question. I did
Okay.
raise my hand again because I was trying to write notes. I was writing them real fast, but I wanted him to, Imran to expound on the difference. I think the word was Amida
Yeah, Amita.
and Ahmed, and I wanted to know how the two did connect. I was writing it real fast, and I couldn't follow you with that.
Yeah, so Amita, I mean, okay, so the Amita, it's a word in Buddhism, and it's from like the Indian type subcontinent. So the word in Hindi, Amita, just means sweet one, something sweet. So they've connected that to the Prophet Muhammad because when he came with the truth, that's what we want. We want something sweet, something that's gonna, make us feel good. When you get that little sugar, bit of a sugar in you, you get, oh wow, this gives me energy. So it's kind of coming from that type of area. So the word Amita almost sounds like Ahmad. Ahmad. Some people say it different with where they have different tongues. The dal becomes like a T or vice versa. So it's and again, they've tried to change it, but they can't change the words because the words is what gives it the power. Like the power in anything is the word. So that one, yeah, I can see why someone would kind of not hesitate or would hesitate to understand it, but the
But
Mahamudras.
I could see the nanetics connecting with the letters,
Hmm.
but I couldn't follow um, because I guess I didn't know the language how you
Mm.
got to Ahmed. But if I made the connection with nunetically speaking, I could see the letters that kind of like put it together. But I didn't know how to go any further than what I just saw with numetics and the word Ahmed and Amida. But it's also trickling something else in my mind when I'm here. Amida, it would be not um, in another language, but in almost like in English
Mm.
with Amida.
Even yeah, like Amida, the meme. I mean, I would just really focus on the meme because when you get to Amita and that sounds like Ahmed, and we all know that it's Muhammad. If you
Right.
look at the ending of the word MED,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. It means MED, middle, medium. It's always the center or the core. So yeah, the pineal gland is in the middle. The heart chakra is in the middle. When they do this, but I'm not even sure if they know what that means. This would to me means the middle of within yourself. And this is just a manifestation of it. And then, I mean, of course, if we look at the Hindus, they put a Hindu dot, a red dot on their forehead, and I'm pretty sure they don't know what the pineal gland. Again, so it's all of these things that were lies, and now we're coming back to the truth. Now this is what's manifesting, that it was all within us, and it's all within you, and it's all about the middle or the core. So,
Thank you.
no worries.
Thank you. And that's all a lesson within itself. Someone asked in the comments, uh, if you, Imran, can share your the presentation, the actual text
Yeah.
that you created. The best way to do that, I don't know if you signed up already or not, but now we're trying to develop a publication, all of us members in Nunetics. So if you've already signed up, you can upload that into
Oh,
that portal. The best way to do that is I'll message Adam and I'll have Adam contact you, Imran,
Okay, yeah.
and he can tell you how to do that because that's the direction we're going, right? So as opposed to just sending an email, we're trying to put it up in this publication because right now it's great if it's available to all of the members who engage in this Nunetics family. But then the longer term goal is to make this available to the public because as instructor always says to us, this is the knowledge that is honestly even beyond what we learn in college, what we call scholars and all of these highfalutin individuals. And look, they've earned their titles in this earth. I get it, but this is a next level. So we need to start uploading our ideas that's in our mind or, anything that we write and put them right up on there. So I'm going to have Adam contact you. I'm going to message him now. He's very responsive and I'll tell him how you could share that from that medium so we could get this going. And
Sure.
it's just really well written and it's just like a perfect presentation. We all can access it and then share it with others. So with that said, Muhammad Abdullah, we're going to save your presentation for next week. We really want to ensure you have quality service. Your head is properly situated in the camera so we can get good dimensions. Everybody can see you, hear you, and everything clearly. So we decided that we'll wait for the following Sunday session, Muhammad, to do yours. And it's going to be a great connection to yours because Muhammad Abdullah is very supreme when it comes to understanding the cosmic universe and how that relates to us. So it's just funny how you guys would have paired perfectly, but we'll save it for next session. Alhamdulillah. So please do everything you can within the next 7 days to situate yourself so that we can have a really good and clean presentation that we could share to the public. I think I could pass this on to, am I missing anything? I feel like I had something to say. You just had such an awesome presentation. I'm really excited to watch that back. Okay, yeah, let's move forward. So we'll have our master instructor and health guide, inner health, outer health. She says, manage your health by yourself. That's a main thing that she aims for. So this is Instructor Karima will be presenting today. I wrote it down. Let me find it. I'm gonna tell you. Oh, do a favor for your future brain. Get it checked. So there's definitely a physiological, biological piece that'll come with it, but then there's possibly also the mental health part that might come with it. I'm just taking a guess here. And I'll let Master Instructor Karima provide us with that information. Once again, Imran, thank you so much. We really appreciate that presentation. That's really got us going here.
You're welcome very much. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Oh, I would like to add my voice and add my name to the list of those who were whose socks were completely knocked off, walking around barefoot now because of your presentation. I'm a person who could look up at the sky, see the stars, and say, oh, how nice, how beautiful. But I could never figure out the configuration that people said, well, this is the Big Dipper, this is the Small Dipper, the Little Dipper, and this is Orion, and this is this and this. And A, I couldn't do it. And B, it didn't really interest me because I couldn't quite see the relevance until your presentation today. So you got my hats off. You really captured my attention, and hopefully we'll hear a lot more from you. And I'm going to be one of those who's going to study what you said. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Take a bow for that. So I'm going to strive to share my screen with, oh my goodness, did I actually do it? Yay! Can you see it? Family, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Naam, naam, yes, we can.
That is so cool. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. So I'm very happy to do that. Brother Imran, that's another thing that I learned from you today. So all praise is due to Allah for your appearance into our circle. It's a blessing in more ways than one. I'm here to talk to you today about your brain. It's been an ongoing theme with me for some time, and I was led to, as Allah will do so elegantly, I was led to a website that put the whole thing together for me and triggered my becoming part of their organization. And before I introduce to you that organization, I wanted to do what Brother Imran mentioned in his presentation. I wanted to prime you. Now, let me take a step back and say, what is priming? Priming is something that you will learn when you read a book by Edward Bernays. If you want to understand anything that happened in the whole Hitler, Nazi, Third Reich, World War II piece, you should learn Edward Bernays. The book he wrote is called Propaganda. Propaganda. And when you read it, you'll learn how many of the things that are done in the media today to manipulate the public have their origin in Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. I ask Allah to give both of them the reward for their deeds and for their intentions. And I say that, and that little snarl that you hear at the end of my voice tells you what I really hope Allah will do for them. If they intended good from it, alhamdulillah. I believe they did not. And their intent was to manipulate the public for evil deeds. But Allah knows what is in a person's heart, and Allah knows what the true motivation for a person's deeds are. So remember that word priming. And if you want to see how that operates in everyday life, all you have to do before you introduce any idea politically is say the word Trump. Now, this is not to, in just saying that, there are some of you and many of the public who will automatically form a particular opinion. I do not focus on people. I focus on policies. However, if you want to set people off, and I mean send people into a snarling rage, just mention his name and all logic will disappear. And it will, I've actually had people threaten me. If you can imagine, I've had people threaten me because I mentioned a policy that was part of the current administration, and people went off. So these are people that I said, okay, well, it's good to know that, and may Allah give them the reward for their intentions and their deeds. Now back to what I'm priming you for. The brain. Here's the key words. The brain, cognition, function, nutrition. Those are the Sesame Street words for the day. Now, as usual, I always, so somebody needs to mute their phone, their thing there, because I'm hearing an echo. As I begin any presentation to you or anybody else, I want to remind you of the basics. And what are the basics? They're fitra basics, they're health basics, and they should have formed the basis of all medicine and healing. Unfortunately, things have gone sideways. And what are these basics? I should have you repeat them to me. But for those, just for convenience, I'm going to say they are that Allah, the Creator, has designed all of his creatures and all of his creation with a specific set of needs, a specific set of environmental elements. Everything you can think of is designed to fit into a specific environment. Example of this is you will not find fish on land. You will generally find them in water. Being more specific, some fish thrive in salt water, others in fresh water, others in stagnant water. But you will not find camels in the ocean because camels thrive in the desert. They thrive on land, likewise human beings. Corollary of that, when you give the organism, when you give the creation what it needs, it will thrive. Put it in the right environment, it will thrive. For this reasons, you get weeds in your garden. Why? Because weeds love, just like any other plant, they love nutrients. The nutrients are found in soil. You provide good soil, seeds will land there and they will thrive. And the second corollary to that is deprive the organism of what it needs to survive, and it will sicken, and it will sicken, or it will adapt, or it will die. Now, make sure you keep those three things in mind as we continue. Your mind lives in your brain. I'm going to reinforce that because it seems to be an alien concept to the psychiatric establishment. It is as though the mind were some nebulous thing that did not have its home in the human body. And the result of that is that diagnoses are made without examining the organ that it lives in, or the organ in which the practitioner specializes. This particular philosophy is not my own. I share it, but it originated with Daniel Amen, Dr. Daniel Amen. You will find him on amen.com, amenclinics.com. Excellent, excellent resource. And he pioneered, this is a sidebar, but it's relevant. He pioneered a particular form of examination and therapy for people who are experiencing problems with mental and emotional health called SPECT imaging. He's not the originator of it, but he certainly is the one who popularized it and brought it to the public. And what he did in so doing is to show that when you optimize the brain, and I'm taking a rather expansive concept and reducing it for purposes of convenience, when you take an image called a SPECT scan of the brain, you can actually see which parts of the brain are being fed optimally, which ones are being deprived of nutrition, and which ones are oversaturated, right? And they do this by giving, in a short sentence, they do this by giving the patient a form of glucose that can be followed with imaging. Doesn't harm the patient. And they have the patient do this at rest, and then they have the patient do this while performing certain tasks. And from that report, you can see that certain tasks, the prefrontal cortex takes up the optimal amount of nutrition or glucose. Or other people who have conditions such as forms of ADD have minimal or lowered or suboptimal uptake of that. And people who have problems with rage, well, that part of the brain is not getting enough or is getting too much, and so on. And memory, same thing, that part of the brain. So the point is that you can actually measure and you can actually see what the brain does in real time when it is getting fed properly, right? Right amount of oxygen, right amount of nutrition based on functions it's being asked to do. So that's the backstory. Here is what I want you to see from here, and it'll all come together at the end. If you were to somehow remove all the liquid from the brain, of course, you couldn't do that and survive. But if you did, you'd find that the brain is largely, maybe 2/3, made up of fat. And because of that, you have to supply it with fat in order for it to work. Now, there are certain kinds of fats, just like there are certain kinds of gas that your car needs, your engine needs to function. There are certain forms of fats that your body has to have. You could divide them into two categories, ones which your body can make on its own and ones which it cannot. Now, this becomes critically important as we look at brain function. Remember, give the organism what it needs and it will thrive. And I could give you another corollary of it that's simply ignored by the medical establishment, and that is when you give the body what it needs, you optimize the nutrition, it will heal itself. It will heal itself. Now, that whole corollary there has been largely ignored by the medical establishment, but that's what we, those of us who understand and accept the fitra and the excellence in which Allah created the human being and his other creations, we understand this, and hence I present this to you. What are EFAs? You're going to hear this word mentioned often in terms of brain health. EFAs are fats that your body must have in order to stay healthy, but cannot make on its own. You have to get them from food or supplements. There are two main types, and you'll hear this frequently tossed around in discussions about supplements and about longevity. And I'm going to be one of those that are tossing it around, so to speak, as we proceed. Omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids. These are ones which your body cannot make on its own. And notice that the very first thing that these fatty acids do is they help with brain function. They help with hormones. What are your hormones? Here's one you've heard me speak about before. Insulin, if you didn't know it, is a hormone. We tend to think of hormones basically as your sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, but we have many, many, many hormones. Thyroids, right? Thyroxine, triiodothyronine, all these are thyroid hormones. Breastfeeding, prolactin hormone, oxytocin hormone. Yes? And here's where it's really important, cell membranes. A book you should make it a point to read, The Biology of the Cell by Bruce Lipton. He speaks about how the membrane of the cell actually has an intelligence. So it knows what to let in and what to refuse to let in. This becomes extremely important when we're talking about glucose control. Inflammation control, very, very important, because inflammation is a signal and a response that the body engenders, which is extremely important for healing at optimal levels, but becomes a very damaging force when it is excessive. So these fatty acids help to control inflammation. Heart health, #1 cause of death worldwide, and in the United States in particular, is cardiovascular disease of the heart and the blood vessels. All of this is influenced in a positive way by these fatty acids and skin and joints. Now, this is the bone that I have to pick with the establishment, and this would be the FDA, this would be the all of those who formulate policy for the public. These are the people that told you you have to have a low-fat diet. They told us this after Eisenhower had his heart attack, and his personal physician, Ansel Keys, mistakenly, in my opinion, surmised that the cause of his heart attack was that he had high cholesterol. But I would have you know that cholesterol, which you would know as fat, is essential for body function. You cannot make hormones without cholesterol. You cannot make your cell membranes without cholesterol. But the kind of cholesterol, of which fats that you take in are influenced by, is very, very important. So what they did was use that as an excuse to produce statins. And that's a whole nother rant. I'll go into it another time. But I want you to think of healthy oils, think of EFAs as healthy oils that your cells need to work properly. Sidebar here, remember, all of the activities of life occur at the level of the cell. Very important. Here's an analogy. Your body is like a machine, and the EFAs are part of the oil and the wiring that keeps things running smoothly. If you have a car, you know, or you should know, that if you run out of oil, your engine is going to seize, and that's the end of your engine. So very important that you pay attention to the EFAs in your nutrition. Here are common sources. Salmon, and make it a point. Now, notice here as you look at salmon, seeds, fish oil, that you get sources of fish that are not farm raised. What's the difference? Imagine big fish like salmon, like other forms of freshwater fish, are being raised in a large tank. And it's not even a tank, it's a pool, a huge pool. And they're eating and they're excreting wastes, they're pooping and urinating in the same pool that they eat their food in, which means that in large measure, they're eating contaminated food. Imagine if we had to eat our food and drink our water from the same source that we eat and poop in. Imagine taking a bath and then having to drink from that. That's disgusting. That happens, believe it or not, in a lot of places around the world. I'm sorry to say that happens. But when you do eat fish and you get the right kind of fish, these would be wild caught fish. Pay attention to that, wild caught fish. These are fish that are in the wild. They're free in the oceans. These are good for you. This is good sources of omega-3. Flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts, for people like myself who cannot eat fish, who are allergic to seafood. These are very important things to know. Omega-6, sources for those, nuts, seeds, vegetable oils, and I would say to you, pay attention about vegetable oils. Vegetable oils, that would be your corn oil, your safflower oil, sunflower seed oil, olive oil, avocado oil, etc., etc. Pay attention that these are cold pressed and unrefined. I spoke about that in last week's presentation. The refining process at high heat causes these oils to change their composition and become harmful instead of beneficial. And certain of these oils, soy oil, corn oil, canola oil, safflower oil, these oils are very, very commonly genetically modified. So avoid those if you can. Most important, balance. Most people, because of the diets that we get, these diets that we eat, and lack of information, we have too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. There's a balance between them. And the simple statement is you need more omega-3s than you do omega-6s. Simple goal: eat more omega-3 rich foods and avoid heavily processed food and fried oils, or foods which are fried in oils. Now, let me reiterate this because we're in Memorial Day weekend. And Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, 4th of July weekend, these are times when people barbecue a lot. These are times when people tend to have potlucks and fried chicken and fried fish and become things that people consume a lot of. This is where you want to pay attention. When you have even the best oil and it's heated to high temperatures. Now, we don't have a thermometer. The average person does not have a thermometer to test the temperature of the oil that we fry foods in. What we know is you don't heat it to the smoke point, A, because it could catch on fire, but because it's going to make your house smoky. That's what the average person looks at. But the people who are evolved and the people who are paying attention never let their oils get to the point where they smoke. You have to do that. And you have to also be careful about allowing your foods on the barbecue grill to char. What does that mean? The average person does not understand grilling, and they spray or they pour the lighter fluid onto the charcoals, and the flame gets really, really high. And that's when they put their hamburgers, their chicken, God forbid, their ribs, and these other things on the grill. That's not really what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, by all means, start your fire, but allow the fire to die down to where you're dealing with your hot coals and a very, very small fire from the charcoal. And then you put your things on the grill and you close the top of the grill so that the heat that's provided by those charcoal, those red hot charcoal embers, are one of the things that cook your food. That's when you get that smoky taste. That's when you're cooking your food properly. But if you allow those high flames, you're going to get the lighter fluid taste on your food, which is highly toxic. You're going to get the burnt. Your food won't be just grilled, it'll be burnt. And that's very bad for the health. So I thought I'd just bring that out. So one way to think about omega-3s is that they're building blocks for the brain's hormones and healthy cells. And this particular one especially important omega-3 is DHA. This is highly concentrated in the brain and the eyes. And you know what's really important, family, and very sad, is that the Creator, Allah, has formulated the mother's breast milk so that when she is properly nourished, her breast milk will provide exactly and precisely the right balance of these omega-3s and omega-6s and the EFAs and DHAs and so on and so forth in exactly the right proportion and the right measure. But the demons that profit from human misery have convinced the public that a woman's breasts are for selling cars, are for the lustful purposes of disoriented men, and for the misplaced display for attention in women. And they've told you that if you breastfeed your baby, your breasts are going to become floppy, which they will lose some degree of their contour. But that's what they're there for. The only reason women have breasts is because we feed children. Men who do not bear children do not have breasts under normal circumstances. So just that's a sidebar, and it's something of a rant, but I thought it was relevant. Here's another fat measurement that you need to pay attention to. It's called palmitic acid. Now, the relevance of all these I will tie together by the end of the presentation. Palmitic acid is a common type of saturated fat, typical type of fat. You've heard this many times: saturated fat, unsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. All of that, you've heard that over the airwaves in the past. Palmitic acid is saturated fat found in meat, dairy, butter, palm oil, and many processed foods. Significant here is that your body can also make it from excess sugar and calories. Remember, I told you that there are EFAs, some your body can make, some your body cannot. You have to get it from food. But this is one that you have to pay attention to, because if you get too much sugar from your diet, Memorial Day weekend, soda, sweet drinks, iced tea, sweet tea, name it, cakes, pies, cookies, treats and desserts of all kinds, which people are going to, excuse me, engage in excess, then you're going to produce too much palmitic acid. Your body does need some of it. This is a basic fat your body uses for energy and building cells. However, too much of it, especially over time, can be harmful. In proper amounts, it helps to build cell membranes. It supports nerve function. It provides energy. Now, this becomes especially important because your brain is composed of nerve cells. And what do nerve cells do? Nerve cells convey power and information, knowledge, and power. Your brain. If you give your body too much palmitic acid, it will increase inflammation. That's what we do not want in excess. To give you a quick explanation about inflammation, if you bump your toe, let's say you cut the corner of your bed too closely, and you bump your toe, you stub your toe, and your toe hurts, and God forbid your toe is really injured, you will heal because your toe is going to send a message and say, we've got an injury here, and your body will respond by sending inflammatory cells there. That's necessary for healing. However, your whole body, if you stub your toe, your whole body does not need to become inflamed. And if that happens, there's an imbalance in the markers in your body. That response is an exaggerated response, and it contributes to problems, one of which is insulin resistance. Now look at the relationship here. Palmitic acid, insulin resistance, diabetes. From diabetes, you get heart disease, you get cancers, you get cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, which is now called type 3 diabetes. Your eyes go bad, on and on and on and on. Kidneys go bad, lose your toes, just bad. It'll stress your brain cells, and very important here, it may interfere with memory and cognition. Very important here. So researchers are studying the links between high levels of palmitic acid and cognitive decline, depression, Alzheimer's, and impaired brain insulin signaling. The easiest way to think about it is your brain needs fats, but it prefers a balance of fats, especially omega-3 fats. So too much palmitic acid is like using heavy grease instead of clean oil in an engine. Now, those of us who know how to check our engine, you know the difference between clean oil and oil which has been sitting for a really long time and hasn't been changed for a long time. It's got particles. It's got all manner of pollution in it. Or let me give you a more easy to assess example. How many of us remember when before we were given vegetable oils, and we were even know to go and get avocado oil or etc. from the store, my parents used to take pork fat, God love them, and render it, or chicken fat, and render it. And every time you needed to cook something, you would take it from this can. And this can used to sit by the side of the stove. And at the bottom of it was all manner of particles from over and over and over again using that oil. That we still live is an amazing thing and a great tribute to what I told you about how Allah is most merciful and most compassionate, that before we knew any better, we were protected from the harm that could have befallen us. And it did befall many of us who fell out of the pattern of heavy physical exercise, heavy exposure to sunlight and fresh air, but continued to eat that same way that we did during days of forced labor. So here's a healthier brain fat pattern: more omega-3s, olive oil, nuts, fish, avocados. Pay attention here, olive oil. If you heat it until it smokes, you've undone the good that you could get from it. Avocados, absolutely wonderful. The same thing applies to avocado oils. I use avocado oil on my skin, all over my body. And an instructor can tell you, it makes my skin extremely smooth and largely wrinkle-free. Largely wrinkle-free. And this is 73-year-old skin. Works like a charm, inexpensive, and it feels wonderful. So, and if you want to scent it, you get your essential oils. For those of us who like scented lotions and such. But when you have avocado oil, you do not, or you could use jojoba oil, or my personal favorite, coconut oil, unrefined coconut oil. Now you smell like coconuts, and people get near you and want to bite you. I digress. Less things you should eat, less of ultra processed foods. That's a lot of the kind of things that people will be eating this holiday season. But if foods don't go bad, we have some bread that got lost in our bread basket that was like 3 months old, and it didn't mold. You go to clean your car, and you'll find French fries from fast foods. And I've seen experiments people did, and I follow a channel where they detail cars, and they have French fries from fast food outlets whose names you recognize that are deep fried French fries, and they've been there for years, and they look just like they did when they came out of the fryer. So much for that. Deep fried foods, be careful of those. Remember what I told you about? This is a process you got to be aware of. It's called oxidation. When things are exposed to oxygen and they have that reaction, and they give off what you call smoke, that's oxidation. I'm simplifying a chemical process here. That smoke, in quotes, does something called, it produces free radicals. What does that mean? Things that can travel at random through your body and cause problems. That's the bull in the china shop in your body. This is problematic. You do not want to have that. Now, they have here excessive palm oil. And I look at that slightly sideways, because throughout Africa, palm oil is a staple. It's a staple. And people have been eating it for a really, really long time. And they don't have those same problems that we experience over here in America using these seed oils. Something to think about. Processed meats, we could call these deli meats, sausages, bacon, even turkey bacon, ladies and gentlemen. If it has nitrites in it, this is not good for you. Nitrites exposed to heat become carcinogenic. And as a matter of fact, processed meats have been declared, what do they call them? I can't think of the exact word, but category A or category 1 carcinogenic foods, foods that produce cancer. In general, they're more expensive than meat. If you get boar's head turkey, deli meat, it's anywhere from $11 to $14 a pound. You could get filet mignon for that. You could get lobster tails for that. So not all saturated fat is bad, but chronic excess combined with inflammation and insulin resistance may negatively affect brain health. And now let's talk about one of the things that your brain does, and that is cognition. What is cognition? It's the process of thinking. It includes how your brain learns, remembers, pays attention, solves problems, makes decisions, understands language, all of the things that govern your life, all of the decisions that you make. So having good or optimum cognitive function, which means how well your brain performs those thinking tasks, dictates the quality of your life. Here's examples: remembering a name, focusing on a conversation, planning your day, finding words, learning something new, reacting quickly as when we drive. All of these things, these are activities of daily life. And we notice when people's cognition declines that they are unable to perform these thinking tasks. And most people accept this as the normal process of aging. I'm here to tell you that is not necessarily so. It is possible, it's 100% possible to avoid these things, or at least decrease loss of cognition, by paying attention to the health of your brain. Your brain is, simple analogy, your brain is like a computer. Cognition is the computer's activities. Cognitive function, how well the computer runs. Now, anybody that has a computer or a phone, for that matter, knows that if you don't take care of it, it will not work right. And I've seen videos of people who will risk their lives running into traffic, jumping over fences and stuff to retrieve their phones. People get into fights. I've seen children crash completely out because their phone was taken away from them. I've seen videos where a woman risked her life to get her phone out of a burning car. We are extremely attached to our phones, but the average person, as you will see over this weekend in particular, does not pay nearly that kind of attention to their brains. The phone is an appendage. The phone is something that is used to help make your life easier, but it does not mean anything unless your brain functions so that you can use your phone. That should be so simple. Things that affect cognitive function. Better sleep. We had 2 of our children travel over this past week, and one of them drove overnight. They drove all night. Matter of fact, 2 of them drove all night. And it's a week later now, and they're still trying to get their sleep cycles back. Most people think that you can simply, I'll sleep late tomorrow. I'll stay up late tonight, but I'll sleep late tomorrow and make it up. Doesn't work like that. A lot of parents think, well, the children are out of school, so I'll let them stay up because they can sleep late tomorrow. Convenient for the parents, bad for the children. Why? As I stated in previous presentations, there's something called circadian rhythm. Our brains have a rhythm, and they do their house cleaning when people have left the building. That is to say, daily activities have left the building. Exercise. I'm guilty of this. And many of us who work remotely, who have jobs that require us to sit, fall short miserably. And I'm speaking of myself through lack of exercise. Healthy diet, social connection. There are people who committed suicide. There are people whose mental health seriously suffered due to lack of social connection over COVID. We have yet to fully appreciate the degree to which mental health suffered because of a lack of social connection due to the lockdown. Mental stimulation, stress control, these are all things that we know. But here's what makes things worse. Poor sleep. I know people that fall asleep with the television on. I had one person who came for consultation because they suffered severe anxiety and anger issues. And I asked them, describe to me your sleep routine. This was a person who fell asleep watching CSI. If you don't know, CSI is about police drama, murder mysteries, solving crimes. And when you fall asleep, your subconscious is at its most impressionable state. The doors to your mind are wide open. So this person fell asleep with that. And in the days before we had streaming, where you could just see the entire program, we would have commercials. And if you don't have premium, you'll still get commercials. And at that time, they're going to literally inject into your mind ideas that they want you to have. We spoke about how the Nazis did it. Well, the father of modern advertising is that guy I mentioned earlier, Edward Bernays. So they know how in 15 seconds, a quarter of a minute, they know how to imprint and inject and impress an idea upon your mind so that you, 60 years later, I can sing you the McDonald's jingle. 2 all beef patties, lettuce, cheese, special sauce, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. 60 years later, oh my God. I know it like yesterday. I wish I was an Oscar Mayer winner. Do you see what I'm saying? So you do not fall asleep with the television on. And if you do fall asleep listening to something on YouTube, take off the autoplay. There are many of us who like to listen to audiobooks about the mind, how the mind functions. Name whatever the thing you want to, stress management, healing, etc. But make sure you take off the autoplay. Otherwise, the algorithm will continue to play things for you that you may not necessarily have curated for your highest good. Chronic stress. Those of us who believe that you have to, mistakenly, you study the laws of money, the 24 laws of money, and you understand that working hard does not make you wealthy. And a lot of stress, especially stress for women, is you're trying to work outside of the home. You come home, now you got home to deal with. That's the children, the maintenance of the house, your relationship. Same thing for men folk, just different paradigm. That will wear you down. That contributes to inflammation because you eat funny. You get a half an hour to eat. A half an hour to eat. That means get it, warm it up in the microwave, walk to where you're going to consume it, wolf it down in 10 minutes, and take that last 5 minutes to get back so you can clock in under 30 minutes. What kind of life are we being forced to live? Alcohol and drugs. This particular one really deserves just a couple of seconds to focus on. This weekend, a lot of people will lose their lives on the road because of alcohol consumption and because of other recreational drugs. The unfortunate part of that is that the culture, the medium, the media, the the liquor industries, the food industries, these are all forces that encourage the consumption of things which are known to be dangerous and even deadly. You look at the movies. We were watching movies from the early 60s and certainly the 40s. Everybody smoked. Everybody drinks. If you're considered to be wealthy, what do? You drink expensive champagne and you have wine with dinner, on and on. And when they say drugs, there's a tendency to think that it's just recreational drugs. But there are prescribed drugs that are equally bad for your brain. I'm thinking specifically of chemotherapeutic drugs. They give women brain fog. They make the brain, they seriously debilitate the brain. Depression, aging. Now, this is where I'm focusing specifically, but there are people who are young who've got very aged brains and some diseases. Well, good cognitive function helps you think clearly, remember well, and function, keyword here, independently. Now, why am I bringing all this to your attention? This is where, and I'll give this to you in a very quick way. This is definitely a plug. This is an unabashed invitation, I call, for how to assess the degree of your brain function. How does it do it? It's a kit that you get. It's called brainspan.com. And what does it do? It measures all of these essential fatty acids that I've been speaking about. The percentage of DHA, which is extremely important, vitamin D, which I didn't mention, but is critical. It measures the impact of all these regenerative, inflammatory, and metabolic health of the brain cells that we have. It also comes with a cognitive test. That means it's 20 minutes to assess how quickly you process information and how good is your memory. And once you get a report. How do you do it? It's real simple. You stick your finger, get some blood on a card, send it off. Afterwards, they give you you receive access to the cognition test, no software to download. And after receiving your card, you get an email with instructions for receiving your report. This is a big deal. All the big guys are endorsing this. And here's the report. You get to see what your brain health is through nutrition. What is your inflammatory response? Now, if you're like me and you're very thrifty, first thing that I did when I saw this was say, well, I can go online and I can order these from the independent labs from Quest and from LabCorp myself. Why would I pay money to these people to do that? The cost. It is this package that you get here to measure the essential fatty acids, vitamin D, et cetera, that they do is very much less expensive than what you'd have to pay if you went independently to a lab. It measures your inflammatory response. It measures how the food that you've been eating, excessive dietary carbohydrates, which give you insulin resistance, spike your blood sugars, and palmitic acid, which I just spoke to you about, what is their effect on your brain? Then you get the cognitive tests. It tests your short-term memory. It tests your sustained attention, which a lot of us are going to have problems with because thanks to shorts, YouTube shorts, we tend to not be able to stay focused on a given thing more than 30 seconds. Processing speed, the ability to respond quickly and accurately to information. Now, here's the good news. Once you get that, you're going to get a summary and you're going to get personalized recommendations and you're going to get clear goals. Now, why am I bringing this to you? Because I am now an authorized provider for them. I ordered the test for Instructor Bilal and for myself. And we need to know, I already know what we need. I want to know how well my culinary skills have actually been providing this. How well is it working? Because you can lean your ladder and climb it really high and then find out you're going up the wrong wall. So I want to know how well I'm doing. And we know we got to protect those of us who are committed to advancing the cause of human excellence. So this is very, very important. Optimizing your performance, resilience to decline, improve your focus and attention. And this is my personal one here. And for any of us young people that are suffering with arthritis, any of us who are suffering with, I hate that word, any of us who are experiencing or have issues with pain and inflammation, arthritis of any sort, migraines, things of that sort, hormonal imbalances, you're going to learn about that. Improper fat, and this is really important since obesity is now 2 out of 3 adults and 3 out of 4 children are now classified as obese. So this test is not just for adults. This test is important for children because children's brains continue to develop. So it's good for any child that is 8 years old and older because it involves reading. So if we're experiencing overweight, you take this test because improper fatty acids are associated with fatigue, the inability to feel full, weight gain, and all this contributes to glucose intolerance, or what we call insulin resistance, pregnancy and breastfeeding. So this particular test was developed by a doctor who is part of the retired Army, and he was in the Army, and he developed this to help soldiers and veterans deal with PTSD and concussive effects. So I feel really, really passionate about this particular thing. And my intent is to tell as many people as I can about it. It encapsulates so many of the things that I have been speaking to you all about. Your metabolic health, protect your brain, et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing is when deficiencies are noted, we're in a position to offer the best supplements for that. And that's not just a sale thing. You see, I can't sell you anything. I can inform you, and I can't teach you anything. I can give you information from which you decide to learn. And so you cannot do better unless you know how to do better. And you cannot be responsible for what you do not know. Even Allah does not hold you responsible or accountable for what you have not learned yet. So now I'm teaching you as best I can. When you get the report, I can go over it with you. You won't necessarily need me, but I can go over it with you. And so I'm bringing this to you. It's what I'm doing for me, for my family, for my children, for my grandchildren, for as many people as I can get, because I'm just that convinced that if you have a better brain, you'll have a better life. Yes, cognitive behavioral therapy is important, right? If you're trying to potty train a child, yes, you can say, go to the bathroom every time. Here's how you do it. But if you haven't tested to see whether or not he's actually able to function with it, that his bladder and his kidneys and so forth are not functioning properly, you can't hold that person responsible. That's the difference between cognitive function and what they call cognitive behavioral therapy. One is, do you have the ability to do it? The other is, do you know how to do it? So that's my presentation. It may be a rant, but that's my passion. I'm explaining to you my passion, and I have the opportunity to do as many things as I want to. I'm a licensed provider. I can line up with sell anything that I want to. But this particular one, I feel, how shall I say, passionate enough, sanguine enough about it to actually do for my family and recommend it to the people I care about, which would be you guys. So I'm going to put in the chat how you get to me. Many of you already know this, but if you don't, this is how you can reach me. And I will get back to you with the information as soon as I can. And with that, I'm going to either open up the session for questions, or I'm going to pass the talking stick back to my good sister Nawa.
So yes, thank you. We wanted to ask, somebody asked, what is the name of the site or the program that you were just referring to? I think I missed it as well. I know we can reach you here, truehumanhealing@gmail.com. That's how you can reach her.
Yeah, you go through that. You have to be referred, since it's done through medical professionals. You have to actually contact a medical professional. If you actually go to the website, they'll link you with one, but it's obviously a business for me. So I'm happy if you choose me to go through. You go to True Human Healing, and then I'll link you with the portal that will do all that for you. And that allows you also to access me when you get your report back.
Awesome. All right. So somebody asked that in the chat. The email is there. I would just take that first step. Message truehumanhealing@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. Thank you for that information. We do have a hand up. Start with Wally Udine, and then I do have a small comment.
Okay, Salaam alaikum again. Truly enjoyed that master instructor. And I just want to thank you again for all that you've shared with me. I know personally, I'm really enjoying those books. Very, very informative. I just want to you mentioned Edward Bernays. There's a very good resource on YouTube called The Century of Self.
Yes.
Century of Self is focused on Edward Bernays and his story. So I wanted to, just mention that. It's a very, very powerful YouTube documentary about that person.
You're absolutely right. We did that. We watched that, and it's worth reviewing. Very, very, very important. Very important. Thank you for bringing that up. And it just goes to show you, information is generally neutral, but the way that it's used is what dictates, and the intention. This is the beauty of our being. Actions are by intention. The information that Edward Bernays presents couldn't be used for good or evil, depending on the intentions of the person who presents it. I'm presenting to you information. My intent is that you heal from it, that you get better from it, that your children get better from it. But there are other people who, demons, that's all I can say, is they're just demons. And their intent is to lead you astray. And this is what I believe Allah means with that word dalleen, where they use your intelligence, they use your mind and your thinking processes to deliberately lead you to a path of destruction, deliberately lead you to a path of destruction by manipulating your emotions. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I just looked that up as well. She, for anybody who's interested, Instructor Kareem, I'll put it inside of the chat, The Century of Self. And it is a mini-series documentary. I guess it's available on YouTube as well. The comment I wanted to speak to was, I like how you tied pretty much the concept of you are what you eat. If you are feeding yourself the proper foods, then that's going to be good for your brain health. And then your brain health has a direct effect on your, what we call mental health from an abstract sense. I realize that a lot of medical professionals, and maybe because it's two sides to it, and we're always dividing ourselves into schisms, there's a lot of therapists, and a lot of people claim to help with mental health. And they talk about, which is necessary, of course, like ways that you can have a different perspective or outlook, or how you should lead, or how you should look at the world when it comes to like psychological standpoint. But I think that detaching it from that physiology and what we actually eat have an effect on our mental health, that's a missed opportunity there. And I think because those are so interconnected, and then we miss that piece, then we're trying to fix a problem well past, the point. Like we're trying to fix a problem later, and we didn't really address the core of the issue. So I just think that thank you for clarifying this information and making it more concrete. We hear these things, but usually isolated, right? I've heard of omegas are fats that are good for you, good for you, good for you, period. But they don't really go that much deeper. Or if they do, it's like watered down or something. But that clarity there really continues to reinforce and emphasize how important it is to really feed yourself, literally good food, but then feed yourself. You spoke to the subconscious as well, good food. So they don't work separate from each other. Yeah, you're one of the very few people I hear speaking of it, the brain health and mental health in that fashion. Yeah.
Well, it's critical. It's nothing less than a crime, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, to immediately start giving people drugs before you connect the source to the outcome, the source of the problem to the outcome. Now, no question, we all know people who have lost contact to the extent that they're dangerous and they're a threat to themselves or to other people. And in that circumstance, you may well have to give them a powerful drug, as all of these psychotropic drugs are. Once stabilized, however, you must go to the cause of the problem. And an example, when people become extremely insomniac, meaning people can't sleep, after a period of the time, people will become psychotic. That's one of the reasons that people who do methamphetamines, excuse that, people who do methamphetamines, that's part of the reason that they crash out. They can go 5, 6, 7 days using the methamphetamines without sleep. Now, after that point, the discomfort becomes so bad that they then go to barbiturates. But one of the things that can be done for that is to provide them with something called GABA, GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. And this is a chemical that the brain itself makes. It helps people with anxiety. It helps people with psychosis. But it is the rare, I do mean the rare, provider that will suggest something like that to address the root cause. Because all of the parameters that keep practitioners from being sued mean that you have to follow the protocol. And the protocol, what they would call reasonable and customary care, means that you're doing what they say you should do, which is give drugs. Deviate from that, and your livelihood is threatened. And that's really sad. But we parents, we know better, or we should know better. And that's where we all come in. That's where Nunetics comes in. That's where everything that we're learning, everything that I've been sharing with you comes into play. You look at nutrition as the root cause, the lack of, the excess of. Look at nutrition, proper nutrition, as restoring the fitra. And it's the restoration of the fitra that makes for the resolution of the problem. Yep.
Thank you, Instructor Karima. I think Does anybody else have any comments or questions that they want to ask? And if not, that is okay. We are absorbing all of this information. Yep, I seen some head shake. Oh, is that your hand, Bashir? Go ahead. You can speak. And then after Bashir will be yeah.
I just want to make a comment. It just occurs that Mrs. Bilal is rebuilding the building brick by brick.
Yes.
Nobody can come blow this house down if we build it properly.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you. And thank you for calling me Mrs. Bilal.
That's who you is.
That makes me so happy. Thank you. 100%.
Yeah, you can chime in. Yep. We can't hear you. Maybe you want to turn your volume up or something? I know you're unmuted, but I can't hear anything. I'm sorry, we can't hear you, but you can put if you can type it, you can type your message in the chat. I'll read it for you. Awesome, thank you. So whenever he has that chance, I'll answer it. But I do think that everyone is just soaking it in, and we will listen to the replay, and we're going to learn from it, and we're going to take one actionable step to get closer to good health. So thank you so much, Marima. Is Mrs. Bilal. And
Love it. I'm putting my phone number in the chat.
Okay.
Perfect. And it's better if you text me first and tell me, because frequently I'll be involved or engaged. And if I don't have you in my contacts, it will come up as an unknown call. But if you text me and I'll say, I'll tell you, let's talk at such and such a time, or feel free to leave a message and I'll definitely get back to you, because I may not be able to speak at that time.
Awesome. All right.
Reason I'm asking, because we have, and I can't speak on it, but we have some pioneers that's having some serious diagnosis in our community. And I know that they need help from you. So it's not me personally, but I want to give them your number, because I want to let them know that there's help here for them.
I would be honored. I'll be absolutely honored to do that. And I'll just give you this quick sidebar. Our son, who's 45, he was at a convention this past weekend. And while he was there, it was like the International Restaurant Suppliers. Our son is a sales executive. And while he was there, he happened to notice that members of the Jewish community, specifically the Hasidic community, were there in great force. And they were making sure that they could get certain commodities that they might label under their own kosher brand. They call it white labeling. So somebody else produces it and you can put your label on it so that you're the supplier. Okay, so there's production and then there's supply. And he was very sad that W.D. Muhammad's community, this whole CPC thing, just kind of fell apart. And here we are, where he devoted his life to trying to get us economically viable and healthy and doing things for our community. And nobody seemed to be stepping up to the plate. Or if they did, the effort was tainted by X, Y, and Z and greed, avarice, just like anybody else. But it wasn't seriously working. So when he said that, I'm one who immediately goes to solution versus dwell in the problem. And I thought, wow, they have the Long Island Jewish Hospital in New York, the Mary Immaculate Hospital in New York. So where's the Muslim aspect to fulfill a need in our community? and I was studying how wealthy people leave legacies. And it was the thing that I walked away with is you see a problem, you address that problem, and you do it excellently, and people will come. You do it excellently, you do it with the intent of pleasing Allah and helping humanity, and people will come. And you will build your business, you will build your community, etc. So I'm looking at legacy now at age 73. What do I want people to say about me after Allah calls me? And I want them to say that she used the gifts that Allah gave her to help humanity. She just devoted her life to that. I'm 46 years in the medical community, and now I want to be the next, well, I can't say 46 because I'm not, well, yeah, that's 92. I can work with that. The math is probably off there, but anyway, as long as I'm going to be here, I want to be 102 in my right mind, in excellent shape, talking to people about how to stay well without drugs. So if I can do that, yeah. And Amir Muhammad, I want him up there going, yeah, that's why I did it. That's why I devoted my life. Yeah. And more than him, I want Allah to be saying, you go, Kareem. That's what I'm about. So thank you.
Ma'am. I also learned when I was in chemistry class, that's when I stopped eating barbecue. When they told me what was going on in chemistry with the food and the barbecue and the rancidness and how, I said, no more barbecue for me. Not in terms of on that grill. That charred meat I was finished.
It's delicious. I know, but we got to do better. And there's a way. There is a way. But we'll talk about that another time.
I love barbecue. I don't eat it all the time though, but I ain't gonna lie. I told that to Bashir in the comments. I said, I love that char taste. Anyhow.
I'll just say this, and then I'm gonna go and make some barbecue chicken for Instructor Bilal.
Not charred.
Not charred. We have to establish the difference between a smoker and a barbecue.
True.
Right.
What we want is that smoky flavor.
Right.
And you can get that smoky flavor and that combination of the sauce and the smoky flavor without charring the meat or using nasty chemicals. So we can talk about that another time.
It's like they say, Karima, forgive me. It's like they say the like dirtier the Chinese restaurant, the better the food tastes. It's kind of that thing with the barbecue. The more cold, the better. No, it's a joke. It's a joke, but some people say
it. Exactly. So I'm gonna go get busy on that, and I'll talk to all you lovely people next week. I love you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. We love you too. Thank you. All right, we're going to pass the talking stick over to Instructor Bilal. He's going to do his presentation, part 2 of, I'm sorry, why did I lose the title? We just did it last week, but I know you'll present yourself well. And about half an hour, Instructor, I do have to get to the cooking cleaning thing, so I might not be as available, but I'll be listening in the background.
Now,
yes, sir.
Excuse me. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, salam.
Karima's name is coming up with a phone number, but it's under another name.
Audrey Tinsley is her name before she changed her name over. So yes.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes.
We'll also have it at the end of this video when I edit it for, sending it to you guys. So nothing will be lost.
Yeah.
Good seeing you. All of you, especially you. I mean, yeah. Okay, so we ready? All right, so first of all, I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum to all of you, and to Karima in particular for that wonderful presentation. And whenever she's finished with her presentations, it makes me feel healthier just listening to it. The point that we all have to get to is following the advice That's sometimes the roughest part of the presentation, to put the screen aside and actually follow the advice that's being given. And that's whether we're talking about cooking, eating, pneumatics, whatever it is we're talking about. If it involves learning something new that's going to improve upon your life situation, then that's where the real challenge is. The challenge is not in hearing it or listening to it or appreciating what you're hearing. The challenge is in implementing it. Everybody with me on that? All right. So when we talk to you next week, we're going to ask about implementation. We'll make sure that that's a part of her strategy for making sure that you're understanding the wisdom, actually, that she's sharing with you. So let me pull up my notes and let's get this linguistic party started. Stand by. Okay, can everyone see my notes?
Yes.
Yes, Nam.
All right, very good. And I hope you can hear me loudly and clearly also.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go through this quite quickly because there's a lot of information here. And whatever you're not able to catch in this presentation, you can always get it in the replay. Whenever you listen to the replays, make sure that you still have a pen and something to write on in front of you, because there will obviously be bits and pieces of information that are vital, actually, that you might not have even heard during the actual live presentation. So the advantage of the technology is it's a part of Allah's Rabb principle, meaning his evolutionary principle, because being able to record is a part of this technical evolution that the world has come into that was not here 1400 years ago, 500 years ago. I don't even think 300 years ago, we had the ability to record voices and music and, present them for feedback and for playback. We didn't have that. So that right there represents a level of evolution, social evolution, that we were not experiencing yet. See, Allah says in the Quran that he taught the human being that which before he was not knowing. That's the key. And he begins that surah out with the phrase Rabb. See, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. All right? Yeah. So thank you for being with us on this Sunday, May 24th, 2026. I am your international instructor, Benjamin Bilal, and I'm going to speak to you a little bit on a word that I spoke on maybe a year ago or so, but it bears repeating. The word hamd, which is the subject, has been the subject for the past couple of weeks or so. That word hamd represents gratitude, being grateful, particularly to Allah, the source creator, but also being grateful to those people who participated along the way in our growth and development. We should always be grateful for whatever it was they were able to contribute. And the best contribution coming from us in terms of gratitude is the gratitude that we show ahead of time. The master instructor, William Safir, he mentions this practically every week when he does the gratitude portion of this class. And he said, you should be thankful to Allah, not because you're waiting for something to be thankful for, but because you already possess many, many things to be grateful for. If you were to try and list the things that you need to say thank you to Allah for, especially, we'd be here till next week this time, just counting the blessings, counting the rewards, let's call it, of those things that we have been gifted with by our source creator. So this word hamd, alhamd, if you include the definite article, it means gratitude. Hamd is indicative of the elevation and evolution of the four basic elements. Each sound represents an element in the universe. Yeah, we're going to get a little sci-fi on you, so continue to listen carefully. The word hamd is built basically off of four Arabic letters. They are the ha, that's the heavy ha, to which if you say it in front of your hand, you're going to feel heat. You're going to feel that heat, and the heat is representative of the element fire. You're going to hear the open A sound in hamd, hamd, and that's your air. The open mouth is producing the element of air. You're going to hear the M sound in ham, ham, and that M, that meme letter, represents water. And then, of course, when you cap it off with the D sound at the end of that small word, hamd, then you have your D. So you have the four basic and universal elements built into that one word, that simple word that we really take for granted every day when we pronounce it in Al-Fatiha or the surah that's actually called Al-Hamd. It means the opening or the gratitude, actually. We might as well start calling it the surah of the gratitude, the appreciation. And you know, when something appreciates, that means that it gets more and more valuable. Ask your banker. Say, what does it mean for my money to appreciate in this bank? He's going to say, well, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, just keep your money in there. And you're going to walk away with much more money than the money you actually initially put in this bank. So appreciation doesn't just mean thank you. Appreciation means that a thing is getting more and more valuable. So when Allah says Alhamdulillah, it means that the increasing value is due to Allah and what Allah is doing for us. It's beautiful when you understand it. Now, we talked earlier about the swastika. I just wanted to add, I added this when he actually said it because I knew it was important for us to understand in connection with what I'm giving you as lessons. The swastika represents a different version of what hamd represents, and that is the interchangeability of the four elements and their movements. This is how the swastika was originally presented to us. And again, it is a symbol that came from the ancient lands of Africa and maybe some parts of Asia, but it wasn't the German Nazi symbol that we grew to know and hate. It was a symbol of universality going in all four directions. These represent the four elements going in all four directions that keep turning. See, this is actually a wheel of sorts that keeps turning, 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 distributing these four basic elements in every direction. So if you understand that in connection with what I just gave you concerning the meaning of hamd, then understand that those four elements are what are being dispersed throughout the universe. Everywhere you go, you're going to find those four elements looking at you. In another class, an upcoming class, I'll give you once again what those elements represent on the metaphysical level. I can give them to you very quickly here, but we'll expound on them in a different class. Of course, the ha, the heat, the fire represents what is going on in the human intellect. The human intellect is symbolic of what fire does. That's why they use it on many of the college and university sites or schools. They have a lantern. I think they call it a lantern with a burning flame on top of it because they know that fire doesn't always represent something destructive. Fire represents academics. It represents enlightenment, education for the human intellect. And that's what brings the intellect into its pristine performance. We know that the A with the air quality is representative of the human spirit, your spiritual nature. It doesn't like to stand still. The spirit is always moving, just like those four turning points on this swastika. It's always moving. And it's the movement of the spirit that allows that object to evolve. So when we talk about human evolution, don't think so much the mammoth to the elephant or whatever you're thinking about when it comes to evolution. If that happened in history, I don't know. But if it actually did happen, it's of much less consequence than the evolution that I'm discussing right now, which is on a metaphysical level, a level that will affect us in so many different ways, other than how physical evolution has affected this planet. That was a one-time event. And the symbols for such are objects that are always increasing. See, the elephant to mammoth, that happened. It's over. It's done. It's sealed. But the symbol of fire, the evolution of education, that's always increasing. The evolution of your spiritual nature, you should be becoming more and more spiritual as you become more and more balanced, not leaning all the way over into spirit to where you don't care about the world anymore. You don't care about people who don't pay attention to material things, and you call them spiritual. Look at the guru guy. Look at the monk. No, the Quran frowns upon these lifestyles that have an over concentration on the spiritual, because the human being is more than just spiritual. In the same way that this universe is more than just air. The air is important. You couldn't do without it, but it doesn't really amount to anything unless you have those other three elements working in conjunction with the air. And you have the fire, and you have these other elements that, again, I won't go into the details of, but the point being that these elements are actually interchanging energies with each other. And that's what makes the world go round, as they say. So again, that swastika that was mentioned represents a different version of what Hamd represents. And that's what makes the Quran so universal. See, if the Quran was just talking about a man who lived, 2,000 years ago in Jesus, or 4,500, 5,000 years ago, whatever, in Moses or Musa, and, whatever amount of years went by since the time they say Abraham or Ibrahim existed, then that Quran is just addressing a physical individual whose lifespan came and went. And the only value he holds for you is in memory. Okay, that's how he was. That's what he did. But okay, so there was a flood that separated the good people from the bad people, and it rose up and it engulfed the Pharaoh and other. But that happened how many thousands of years ago? And it's over. It holds no more value for you. Trust me when I tell you that. There's nothing you can do to really improve your life except listen to these stories. And I guess just to believe in them, that they did happen, they were true. But where's your modern day miracle? Where's your modern day separation of good from bad, of clean from filthy, of this from that? This creation is a continuous creation. Again, that's what that swastika is telling you. It happens, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. And just as in the case of things that revolve, as this swastika is doing, it's revolving. Things that revolve tend to evolve. You say the earth is revolving on its own axis? Well, that's the reason why life on earth is evolving on its axis. We'll sit and let you figure that out until next time we meet. So in Surah An-Nisa, mistranslated as the women, ayat 152, Allah says, to those who believe in Allah and his apostle, or they call it also messenger, and make no distinction between any of the apostles. Make sure you're remembering that we're talking about the true meaning of Muslim, the word Muslim. For those who think it represents somebody who took the Shahadatain and held the finger out and mumble some Arabic words that they didn't understand. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Mumble something that's not even in the Quran as it's being given to you in the Shahada. There's no Shahadatain, there are no two Shahadas. La ilaha illallah and Muhammad. It's together the way they give it to you and the way they make you proclaim it. But that statement is in the Quran, but it's not together. They're given in separate places, separate surahs in the Quran, not even the same surah. It says, La ilaha illallah. That's it. That's enough. Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad is a messenger of Allah. Why do I say a messenger? The way they translate it. Because Muhammadun, that word is given a tanween ending, which makes it generic, not specific. If it were Al Muhammad, as I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago or so, Al Muhammad is talking to a specific person. I've known people named this and that Al Muhammad, meaning the Muhammad, a specific Muhammad. But Muhammadun means any Muhammad. Anybody who's embodying the qualities of what Muhammad represented. There had to be a first one, yes. But that first one simply became a prototype, meaning he became a stamp out figure. You could just stamp out other Muhammads by using the measurements and the qualities and the interactions of that first one. Now you got multiple Muhammads walking the earth. So it's the responsibility of the person carrying that title to live up to the meaning of its prototype. You have to ask yourself the question, if I'm a Muslim, if I want to know what a Muslim actually is, am I living up to the prototype? That's a big question, isn't it? Am I living up to the 4 elements that are inculcated into my very human nature? It's not just the breath, like, that makes you a part of Muhammad. It's not just the fire of your anger. It's not that kind of fire. It's not just the earth of the money in your pocket that represents masses of material stuff that you can buy. No, it's much more than those mundane levels of elemental factors. It's talking about something that continues to accrue and excel and evolve. Something that you never have to worry about getting too much of or having too much of. So why is that important for those who call themselves Muslims? Because to believe in Allah, as we continue to read, and his messenger, and this is what a Muslim, one who makes no distinction between any of his messengers. It says, we shall soon give them or give them their due rewards, for Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. So you want to be Muhammad? Let's start backwards. You should practice being more forgiving and more merciful. And if you do that, you're encompassing what all of the messengers did and had and wished for all people to come into. But the bottom line here is that you shouldn't just be saying, I believe in Muhammad, but you don't know anything about what Imran mentioned earlier as the Buddha. How do you know he wasn't a prophet? He had a similar message. There are other inspired people. There are inspired people in history who left testimonies and information that we could equate with actually the best of what some of the people they call prophets have left. The Quran clearly tells you that there are many named in this book and many, many that are not named in this book, many more not named than named in the Quran, because the Quran is not the sum all, be all of scripture. The Quran is really just the table of contents for the universe. So it touches on, it doesn't give you explicit details into every activity that you need to know about. It gives you a table of contents so you know what homework you need to do, where you need to go to study further information to explain and to explore and to expand the information. but you can't do it believing in just one of what you call messengers. Just Muhammad. We just accept Muhammad because all the rest have been corrupted. You're reading the book incorrectly. All of the rest are not verified. Well, then you have to explain some things that the Quran tells you. You have to explain it so that I'm understanding how all of the rest. See, it's because you're reading the book incorrectly. When you come into an accurate understanding of what the Quran is saying, you learn to read this spirit of knowledge. And you also will pretty much know right away that this is an addition. Somebody snuck this part in there because it's incongruent with what the rest of the book is talking about. And this is also another reason why it is important to learn, if you're reading the Quran, these consonantal connections, because these connections are giving you the actual attributes of the words, so you know where to look for or where to look to for further information. Just like we did with the word hamd, you know to look for those 4 elements if you believe that's what they represent. If you don't, then just go on about your business and do what you've been doing. But those who trust the instructor enough to at least investigate, even if you investigated and came back and said, instructor, I think you were wrong. Look at what it says here. That's okay also. That's a part of the human learning experience. See? But clear-cut information, as we're receiving here in this verse of 152, Surah 4, clearly tells you that those who believe in Allah and His messenger. Now, the word messenger or the word apostle, they call it Rasuli. They believe in Rasulihi, His messenger, they call it. But the word also means who believe in His messages. Now, I want you to think about the difference between living in a person who they are telling you existed, again, 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 17,000, when you don't even know how long ago many of these people in your book existed on this earth, walking, talking, eating, socializing. We don't know what year it was, or if we did know, we don't know how important it is to human life and human development. The fact that they were here 5,000 years ago or 7,000 years ago. And we don't even know for sure who all of these people are. Like I said, Buddha could have very well been classified as a messenger, as you're seeing the word messenger, but he definitely represented a message. You can put the bits and pieces together for yourself later, but you should be able to easily accept that he came and his life development represents an evolution of knowledge from what he believed as a boy, what he grew to believe as a so-called teenager, and what he eventually settled on in his intellect as an adult. Very congruent with the history and development of the ones that they're calling messengers. So we're not going to sit and argue about these things. We're just going to do further investigation. So therefore, a Muslim is not only one who professes belief in Muhammad, he is also one who demonstrates faith in a system which recognizes all prophets as one continuous and contiguous whole. The word Rasulihi, mistranslated as his messengers, as though they belonged to this man called Moses or Jesus or Abraham or something. No, they're not his messengers. They are his messages. These prophets came to bring you their messages. And those are the messages that were given to them, signed, sealed, and delivered from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our source creator. So it actually means his messages. And it is not a reference to people in history, but to the flow of united frequencies, which were consistent with all other frequencies, which emanate from the source code called Allah. I like that. From the source code. Everything important has a code. If you have a house that you're proud of and you have things in it that you know are considered valuable, you're going to have a lock on the door. And that lock very often comes with a code. You can't get in unless you know the code. Somebody shared the code with you, or you own the code. So there are many people who don't know how to take advantage of the fact that we have a source creator who's moving on our behalf, doing things on our behalf, inviting us into more and more exploration of truth than we were previously introduced to. I hate to say this to you, but most people are not even living. If we accept the meaning for life that the Quran and its previous scriptures are giving us, there's such a thing as life and living, and there is what most of us on earth are doing right now, and that is existing. For you to exist, all you have to do is exist on the lowest level of frequency available. If you know about the chakras, you already know what I'm talking about. But we're talking about that level of survival. Just surviving. We're looking to do that which will help us survive for another day. We have to begin to re-examine the information that I've been giving you for these past few years. If you're on that level, that's the level that every human being begins with. Everything living begins with that level called the survival urge. It's born into the world and then it begins to do things and eventually say things that represent the things that it needs to continue this line leading to its further survival. And it begins to grow from that point on. But we have a very devilish scheme in the world right now that recognize that you have to survive because they have to be able to use you at some point. So they want you alive, but they don't want you advancing internally. They want you to advance like the most mundane, unimportant life form on earth advances, and not even that high, because those things are building structures. Look at the ants. Even the roaches. It's the reason why they've been around for millions of years. They must be doing something right in their kingdom. But look at the unfortunate set of circumstances that we as human beings have to deal with on a daily basis. Killing each other for no reason. Hating each other because of the hue of our skin tone. How ridiculous. What other creature do you know of? Do the deer go around acting like that? Let's go get the light-skinned fur deer and knock him off and only accept the black, dark-skinned deer in our flock. What kind of foolishness is? How would the deer survive with that kind of mentality? So many of the things that we have fallen victim to as mental sicknesses are so opposite what it takes for a true human, meaning a true Muslim in the case that I'm presenting it, to survive. And that's why Muslims today are not surviving ideologically and in many other areas, because they are not factoring in the truest meanings for the word Muslim as one who is not only surviving, but one who is thriving. Now, you can be surviving and not thriving, then you're just a Muslim in the English language with a small m. The sun is surviving, but it's not doing anything to where you can say a million years later, oh, look at the advancement the sun has made. No, you don't say 1,000 years, a million years later. Look at the advancement that the bird's nest made in these million years. No, the scientists will tell you that the bird's nest is the same as it was a million years ago. It's not advancing. It's serving its purpose, but it is not evolving. Allah is Rabb, the evolver. He involves matter, and then he takes that matter that he has involved, whether it's in the womb or wherever he has internally placed that life form to begin its initial foray into life. And then he evolves what he has involved. And at the other end of that evolution is the man that we call the human. And if he doesn't get any further development, then he just becomes a human doing. He's just out here doing stuff. But again, so is the roach, so is the beaver, so is the cat, whatever. But he's not being anything. When you go to the level of evolution that allows you to begin being something, when you are being something, you're affecting other life forms around you and assisting them in their evolution. That's what the human being has done. Like him or love him. And you can't give all of that credit to just the one so-called race of people. Because that same race that you might be thinking of might be responsible for the devolution of most humans. This evolutionary quality that Allah has placed into the soul of the human being is so advanced that it hasn't even expressed its full potential yet, not even in 2026. It's really just getting another spark and another chance at true evolution. It has to happen first and foremost through language, through the correcting of terms that people have accepted, believing that those terms were from the source creator himself. Those terms have to first be corrected. Those terms have to then be applied as applications, just like in your computer. You have to develop an application for this terminology. And once you place the application properly in your computer, then the rest of the work is practically done. So that's what Nunetics is attempting to do, give you the proper application for these very important Quranic terms and phrases. The word Rusulihi, mistranslated as his messengers, actually means his messages and is not a reference to people in history, as mentioned, but to the flow of united frequencies which were consistent with all other frequencies which emanate from the source code called Allah. So all of the messengers are congruent with each other. They all essentially, although using different words in different cultures and different terms in different languages, essentially they were all representing the same thing, the same message. And essentially, that message is what we have in the Quran as La ilaha illallah. That's all you need. Allah tells you that's all. He says, any who hold on to that will be delivered in the end, out of even the hellfire. These are things that are in the Quran, but because we've been gravitating towards the more harsh messages that are in the Quran, we miss these beautiful ones that are staring us right in our faces. And I'm going to leave that to you to research, and you come back next week and tell me where that phrase is. That any who accept La ilaha illallah will be delivered from the hellfire. It's a wonderful thing if you understand it. The word Rasul indicates a delivered message, not a messenger. So once the message is delivered and applied, the messenger is null and void. It's like once your mail is delivered and applied to your mailbox, what further business do you have with the guy who delivered it, the postman or whoever delivered your mail, the UPS guy? You don't chase him down for any conversation about your mail. He's not responsible for delivering your mail. Pardon me, he is responsible for delivering your mail, but he's not responsible for explaining your mail to you. Most people don't know that the prophet is not responsible for you understanding the message that he brought. He's not responsible for explaining it to you. All of these things I'm saying to you are in Al-Kitab. It is not his responsibility. It's beautiful when you understand. Let's continue. So here is a letter for letter breakdown of the Arabic word Muslim based on its root letters Sin, Lam, Mim. The MU in Muslim is a prefix and it's not a part of the root of the word. Again, the root of the word Muslim is Sin, Lam, Mim. Salam, Muslim. So what is this salam? And we've spoken about this on many occasions. So some of this might be repeated. Salam begins with the letter Sin. That's an Arabic letter. And it relates to secrecy. Things held in secret. It is from the word sana, which is related to the teeth. So send your attention to the teeth and what the teeth do. Sana cleans and sanitizes. See the word sana hidden in there? It cleans and sanitizes in the same way we care for our teeth. The teeth are inside the mouth, which when closed represents secrecy. If you're eating an apple, you take a bite, and if you close your mouth to chew, before anybody gets a chance to see what it is you took a bite of, then that food becomes something that you're doing in secrecy, the eating of that food. You're doing it and say, they have to ask you, hey man, that looks good. Whatever you got in your mouth, you look like you're really enjoying it. What is that? They have to ask you. If they see it going in, they don't have to ask you. But if they see you after you begin what they call masticating the food, chewing on the food, slurping on the food, then they have to ask you, what is that you eating that looks so good? Or if they see you take a bite of something and you regurgitate, then they have to ask you, what did you eat just now, man? But they still have to ask you because it comes out as mush. Acid's got to it. Sana has another meaning, which is associated with the idea of brightness. In the fitrah of Mother Nature, the obstacle that is hidden at times, but brilliant at other times, is the sun. The word sun is also a byproduct of the Arabic words sana and sunnah. The sun is bright and also sanitizes the environment. That is also the purpose of the sunnah in its proper context and application. That's how you know the people who are truly following what they call the sunnah. Because when you meet and greet them, they should be the brightest bulbs in the pack. They should be the liveliest spirits in the group. They should do for you what the sun is doing for its environment, providing light and providing heat. The closer humans get to each other, the warmer human beings begin to feel to each other. That's physically as well as theoretically. When I get close to another ethnic group, man, I begin to feel like, hey, man, y'all are just like we. Y'all do that just like we do. This is cool, man. Let's get together more often. Learn a little bit about each other's language and culture. and tastes in food. And see, so that's the sunnah, that's the sunnah, that's the biting off of other people's culture, as they call it. Man, why are you biting my culture? We have these terms in the English language, but we don't understand the depths at which these terms go. And by the way, the phrase sunnah is never ever used in the Quran to say anything about Muhammad. Never. There's nothing called Muhammad's sunnah given to us in the Quran. It's only in the body they call the hadiths. They call the hadiths. The Quran doesn't call it that. The Quran calls the hadith. There's a section, there are portions of the Quran that are called the hadith. So the hadiths are given to us by Allah. And Allah says in the Quran, and which hadiths will they believe in after this? Meaning after what I've given you in the Quran, what other hadith are you chasing? Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu this one, and Ibn the other one? What hadiths are you looking at to call them hadiths? The letter lam means tongue. So we talked about the letter sin, the first letter in salam. We're talking about what a true Muslim is. The letter lam means tongue, and the tongue is used to communicate. That's energy going out. And the tongue is also used to assist in taking in food, nutrition. So there's an outward direction for lamb, but there's also an inward direction for lamb. Now, most of you who have read the book Lunetics, you already know this, that lamb is also the shepherd's hooks. They call it a goad, G-O-A-D. And what does the shepherd do with his goad? He uses it to fetch animals, sheep especially, by the neck. The hook end of the tool goes around the sheep's neck and pulls the animal towards him out of danger. It moves in that direction that he doesn't see. So the shepherd has to come and use that tool, that apparatus, the goad, to hook him around the neck and then pull it towards himself, just like you do with food. And the other purpose of the goad is to take the hook end in his hand, see, and then point the direction that he wants the sheep to go in. Now he's pointing out. That's lamb in a nutshell. Things are going in and things are going out. This is the science of the letters that the Quran is giving us in what's called Arabiya. This science exists in all languages, believe it or not, but not as clear as what you're going to find in Arabic. It doesn't make Arabic the first language ever taught on earth and all. And I don't need all of that to believe that it has a special attraction for the human intellect. They say there was a certain point in history when the human being wasn't even standing up erect, like we know people to stand up and move forward today. So because that instance occurred in history, doesn't mean that's where we're supposed to stay. They talk about cavemen and whatever else they say existed. A lot of it is fabricated, dinosaurs and that kind of stuff. They fabricate a lot of that information. Some of it is true, but to a degree, and then they just build up the rest of it to make it really, really attractive. And then they say, we discovered this. Yeah, they do the same thing with a whole lot of things. We've been to the moon, we've been to Mars, they'll tell you they've been anywhere if they think you'll go for it. Quran says they can only go but so far in the universe before they're blasted back. You believe who you're going to believe. We're going to stick with the Quran. Continuing. The last of the letters, the letter meme, means water or liquid sources that keep you alive. Water is also symbolic of your emotions. Emotions also keep us clean and fit by directing the flow of our moral thinking and choice making. And we know that choice making is directly connected to what the intellect does. So this is a moral quality operating in the human intellect, not in the human feelings department, in the human intellect. And again, it's helping to direct the flow of the things that we are sanctioning intellectually. We want this to come into our life, so we're giving it the check of approval. Salam represents the beginning of our human advancement into civilized life, a process which is taking place in the course of human evolution. Advancing into civilized life. Look at some of those old movies, Europeans especially, and in Africa and other places, and the hordes and other people from other parts of the world. Look at them when they were just contending with each other, warfare, barbarism, eating out of ceramic bowls where they would take their portion and then, I hate to say it, but spit in the food and pass the bowl. And the next person would just eat in that. And that's how all of these diseases and many of these other things became so popular in the world, because people had no clue what true sanitation was. There was no sunnah for them to follow, for them to become sanitized by. Because the human intellect wasn't chewing on anything. It wasn't making that level of progress. They were stuck in the lower registers of that energetic frequency system that some people call the chakras or chakras. Other people call them by other names related to frequencies of operation. So again, salam represents the beginning of our human advancement into civilized life. The most peaceful moments are when we meditate with the sound of water in the background. Now we will discuss the word frequency, and frequencies come in waves, just like water. Pay careful attention. There is a dark side to human frequency. In the same way that water can become polluted, there are low vibrations that become more than just passing moods. These lower frequencies pull us deeper into confusion, deeper into desperation and despair. These fields are magnetic, meaning that they have a pulling attraction. And they are all designed by the source creator to grow things. To grow things. When you put a seed into the soil magnetizes the seed and pulls it deeper into itself. Allah says that He created us to grow like plants grow. That's your hint. How much more do you need than for Allah to say that, for you to begin studying what seeds do and what plants do? Yeah, I created all of you to grow like plants. You have the same design in this respect. In other respects, you're growing like another part of the fitrah. But all of it is united because all of it is the fitrah of Allah, the patterned way that Allah designed things to express themselves in their most excellent manner. So Allah says that He created us to grow like plants grow. The word is nabata, from the same root that gave us the word for prophets, naba, naba'a, and news. Pardon me, prophets, nabi, and for news, naba'a. There's a surah by that name. And Naba, they call it the great news. It's really the great inconsequential news because it's news that if you let it fly over your head and don't really investigate it, you're going to be in a world of trouble. See, there's some news, you turn on your news station and they talk about the weather or something and say it's 80 degrees today and it's a good day for the beach and blah, blah. That's news, but it's not consequential. If you didn't know it, nothing bad happens. But if there's a storm coming and you don't pay attention to that news, well, that's a great level of news that if you don't know it and you plan on going out and you're not aware that a tornado is coming or a hurricane is on the brew, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So that's the kind of news this surah is presenting to the human mind. Those things that are of severe consequence in the life of human growth and development. So again, Allah says that He created us to grow like plants grow, and plants grow forms that are healthy and helpful to human life, but they also grow plants that are harmful to human existence. You got, what do they call that three leaf plant? Touch it, make you itch. You eat it, you might die. You know,
Ivy.
yeah, poison ivy, I think they call it, right? Poison ivy. Thank you. So you can't think just because it's a plant, it's safe. And Allah said again, He created the human being to grow like, there's most people would just take the good meaning. Oh, He created us to grow like plants, and it's like eating our vegetables, you know. No, it's like everything the plant does is also doing similar things in you. Both plants and planets operate based on energetic frequencies, operating in Allah's universe, in His cosmos. Each one of our internal organs also operate based on their connections to frequencies. So in the same way that we have 12 basic orbs surrounding us in this particular galaxy or in this particular part of the universe, each one of those orbs are influenced by those planets that are giving off frequencies that literally, we know the moon and what it does. They have a term called lunatic. From a word that points to the moon as lunar. It's a lunar orb. And they say when it becomes full, the human beings become foolish, crazy, lose their minds, can't get a grip on their own emotional life. So if the moon is doing that, well, what is Saturn, Mars, Venus, and the rest of them doing to you? They don't always share that information with you because their number one agenda is to control you. And you can only control a human being if you don't allow him access to the knowledge that regulates his life. We are in charge of the kind of plants we will allow to grow within our energetic frequencies. We're in control of that. The ones that grow to dominate our lives, whether good or bad, are the ones that we pay the most attention to. I've heard people say, well, God grew the herb in the earth. And you say, if since God grew the herb, it's cool if we smoke it. Keep thinking that. He grew the tobacco too, right? Yeah, go into the cancer wards and see what the result of that is. You think just because God grew it out of the earth, it's supposed to be for you to eat and smoke? You're crazy. I hate to put it there. I can't put it any more plainly than that. You're nuts. Using that as an excuse because you're not thinking, you're feeling your way through life. The ones that grow to dominate our lives, whether good or bad, are the ones that we pay the most attention to. Whatever we pay attention to expands. However, the negative frequencies can only grow and dominate if left unchecked. And that's in the Quran also. I'll let you find it for yourself. We have been thinking that these negative vibrations are inescapable. Here is the real deal. You were created to be the master of your vibrations. We blame bad luck. You remember Teddy Pendergrass? Big hit song. Bad luck. That's what you got. That's what you got. Like God gave it to you. No, we blame karma. We blame other people. If it wasn't for my daddy, I wouldn't be in this situation. I'd be rich by now. He keep taking all my money. But the real enemy is energetic. You're not born to be a prisoner of your past, of your pain, or of your fear, nor of your negative circumstances. What parents you were born to, what siblings you may or may not have had in the household, yada, yada, yada. Look at poor Michael Jackson. 10 siblings, mother and father in the house, in a 2-bedroom house in Gary deprived Indiana. But look at how he was able to overcome those circumstances to become a person who they consider now to be the most known person in the history of the world. That's no small chapter in his book. You know, there were pharaohs in history, but name 3 of them for me. I bet you can't. The average one of you. But you can go over to places that speak no English, and they don't even have a record player or a tape recorder, but they know Michael Jackson. They know his songs. Where are they getting this from? Because frequencies are universal. So we're not talking about your negative circumstances and your random occurrences that you are destined to become a prisoner of. You are here to dhikr. You are here to remember the truth. And that is that you are not its prisoner. You are indeed its master. You're not the prisoner of bad circumstances and bad outcomes from the past or from your family lineage or from because your family was cursed by some witch 100 years ago. You're not here to succumb to that. The only way you'll succumb to that is if you're not paying attention. And those influences they'll creep up into your family life, they'll creep up into your relationship. And because you are not paying attention, the thing that you think is happening, oh, we've been cursed. We have a generational curse on our family. Keep thinking that. And that influence will grow and grow in you because you're created to grow like plants grow. And what could have been a beautifully flowering plant life becomes a toxic. Oh, man. Terribly dissatisfying life. But you are responsible in part for bringing that life into your existence. This grafted false environment of media especially is designed to purposely entangle your mind, corrupt your body. Look at this Ozempic. What is this stuff now? Everybody losing all of this crazy weight and seem like they just can't stop using it. They're turning into skeletons in front of us. The influences of Shaitan are tremendous in our day and time. And he loves making humans look like fools. What a shame. You got millions of dollars in the bank, but couldn't figure out a better way to lose weight. Mm. So this grafted world of false communication is purposely designed to wrap your mind up like a mummy, to corrupt your flesh, your body, and to disengage your very soul, meaning where your soul is naturally plugged in by Allah. You know, the engineers in there, he's plugging this, your nervous system needs this, your body systems needs that, your mental acumen needs some more of these vitamins. Your whole body is doing this in order to preserve the excellence of the body, which is the soul, the nafs, the ruh, these other aspects of your very internal life that represent the true life that Allah is speaking to through the Quran and through these other scriptures. Trauma, overstimulation of the senses, meaning giving too much attention to the senses. When you give the senses too much attention, oh, that feels good. Then they want some more feel good because whatever you give your attention to, you know the rest of it. So when you're experiencing trauma and you concentrate on that trauma, instead of figuring out how to deal with that trauma and alleviate that trauma with the help of Allah, then it entangles the mind. The mind gets jumbled, corrupted, and confused until the soul itself, the nafs, becomes retarded, in disarray. So trauma, the overstimulation of the senses, and even our relationships can lower your frequencies without your conscious consent. Whatever you do not take control of, that you have been given control of by the source creator, if you do not take control of it, then Allah will allow the other forces to take the control, to take the driving. This guy's drunk, he can't drive. I got it. I'll take over. And then you go where you want to go. He in the back seat sleep anyway. You go where you take him where you want him to be. That's how he ended up at the party with the crack, the cocaine, and the reefer, and the drinks. That's how he ended. He wasn't there when you gave him birth, but he's damn sure there now, wondering how in the world did I get here? And this can happen again because of the overstimulation of your senses. You can see, but you wanted to see too much. You can smell, but when that girl walked by, you wanted to smell too much. Oh, what's that you got on, sweetness? Where'd you buy that? I need to buy some more of that for you. That smells good on you. You ain't never met this girl before in your life. But all of a sudden, you tight with her. And if she think you got a lot of money, she'll become tight with you for a minute. So if you don't take control, these forces and influences will take control of you. So in the Tuesday evening psychology class, we will discuss the way to sidestep these energetic traps in order to live the life of purposefulness intended by our source creator. These traps are actually hiding in plain sight. They're right here. But you know, when you put something too close to you, you can't really see it in detail. It's too close. They make sure this world gets close up on you. It's time for my close up, Mr. DeMille. Yeah. So they're hiding in plain sight, but because we do not have the tools necessary for discovering them, they remain obscure. It goes from Ein to Rein. It goes from Aql with an Ein And amal, that kind of hard work with an ayn, to maghdubi, anger. Once our higher frequencies are discovered and implemented, we can rise, we can radiate, and we can restore our true power again as al-Khaliqin, as it's called in the Quran, meaning the human creators. Not Allah, not the source creator. The ones whom Allah has invested with the power to be able to program and reprogram things in creation. You've been programmed incorrectly, ADD and all of that, and this syndrome and the other, all of that. You need some reprogramming. You got to come through this system that can trace that programming back to its fitra beginnings and then correct it by replacing the artificial signature with the naturally created fitra signature. When we say Bismillah, we're saying with the signature of Allah, the source creator. You follow that pattern, that blueprint, it can eventually return you and correct issues that would have shown up in your future generations as problems. Correct them right away. Your generations won't have to inherit poverty. They won't have to inherit all of these diseases, believe it or not. They can inherit your excellence. And these other things will just become your challenges. But you don't necessarily have to let them overrule your intelligence, your excellence. We are engaged in vibrational warfare and must therefore learn how to defend our field. Like I said, anything that's given the word field is where things are growing. It went from the field of agriculture. Before that, it was the field of stars. That's a field up there. And it's growing planets and other things. But here on this earth, we have fields of agriculture, which I believe is where they got the word agri from ikra in the Quran. Not meaning read, that's a later meaning that they gave it. Ikra, agri. Ikra doesn't mean, first and foremost, to read anything. Ikra, from the verb qara'a, literally, if you listen to it, you can associate other English words with that word. Qara'a, the word carry, C-A-R-R-Y, comes from that word. Because when you're in agriculture, there comes a time when you need to harvest the field. And in harvesting the field, you have to then carry your products from the field into the house or into the market for sale. So it's a word that is pointing to the idea of bringing things together for purposes of a bigger plan, a larger objective, which is to service not just you and your few people in your family, but to service community life. And if you're not clear, ask those who know. You start with Lane's Lexicon. Start with Lane's Lexicon. Say this word ikra. Where does it come from? They tell you right there in the beginning of the meanings that it means to collect, Just like you do with the agriculture when it's time for harvest. To collect, to carry. When you collect these pieces of corn and whatever it is, yeah, it's time to carry them. Because if you leave them in the field too long, it's no good. They'll die on you. So do you see how much further the meanings of these words go when you're able to connect their fitra-based objectives? Yeah. You're going to either pick them because they're ripe for the pickings or they're going to die right where they are. That's also a good understanding of what happens to our children when we don't harvest them correctly. So the correct connection is to harvest. Ikra, to harvest. Harvest means they've reached that age where they are best suited or prepared for servicing people. Do you think our youth are best situated for servicing people as it stands today in most of and much of what you see? No. Not even those who are in the colleges and universities are suited for that. Most of the society has been purposely unsuited for that task, for helping society. Most of them don't even want to help their mama. Their daddy need help, and they won't help him. Got money and won't help them. So we have been led to become cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in this day and time. And the world needs major corrections on a plan that has gone astray because we allowed artificial beings to manipulate the planet. The future we long for already exists and is waiting for you to cut through the weeds, the brush, and the bushes in order to claim the life that is consistent with your human excellence. You just got to be able to move the weeds and bushes and brush out of the way. You have to have the right tools, the scythe, they call it, I think, or scythe, where you're able to just chop at it and it falls off. Branches cut in half, just you ain't got time to pick it by the leaves and be tender with it. And no, chop, chop, and that's it. All you have to do is escape the frequency that has been keeping you small. Allah says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Translated into English, certainly. لَقَدْ, certainly. And this qad here, you know, that's a word by itself in Arabic. It means surely. Of course. But when you add this la, which is a negation actually, in most of the way we use it in Arabic, but laqad means not only for sure, but this is for sure. Yesterday it was for sure. Today it's for sure. And going into the unforeseeable future, this is still going to be the case. Everything's not like that. Some things are for sure right now, but because of changing circumstances, the trajectory changes and you end up with something else. But this here can be depended on because Allah has locked it into this particular system or of programming. See, khalaq means he programmed a thing. So certainly, whether yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we now have khalaq, programmed, al-insana, the human being who is not only flesh and blood, he's also social and, oh, he's so much. Insan covers the human being as a social being and also as a thinking being of intellect. That's why when the intellect goes wrong, we call him insane. He's no longer insane. He becomes insane. And the scene, that S right there, by itself means how the intellect processes information. It chews. It represents the teeth and what the teeth do. And it does most of its chewing in privacy and secrecy. You can't see, as we mentioned earlier, what's actually in the mouth that's being processed. What a wonderful science Allah has given us in pneumatics. Find me a comparable system that can explain to people who haven't even graduated from high school or maybe even from grade school and can explain it to you with an accuracy that would astound the college graduates. The university professors will be are astounded already. We have some of them visiting us who teach us every now and then. They come on, they have webinars with myself. You've heard them, you've seen them. These are no Rudy Poo scholars. These are people who have been studying this for decades. And they say, we love pneumatics. We don't understand it all. We might not even know where you got all of this. From the same source creator who reveals everything in his own good time. And you don't have to be a prophet to receive it. Although we do have the prophet nature. That's built into every human being, the prophet nature. Before these big industrial cities were built, the people of the Amazon and environments like the Amazon, the forest I'm talking about, not the company, not the business. Some of you are a little young. I'm talking about the actual Amazon. Those people would go hunting and they automatically knew where not to go in the jungle because it was going to be too dangerous. How did they know? Did somebody come and tell them? Not necessarily. They can just stand there. And they had such a sensitive nervous system that was registering so many minute emotions that they could stand there and with their eyes closed maybe and just feel where danger was. You can still do it. You've lost most of it, the average one of us. We've lost most of that ability. We used to be able to do that. Your grandma and great grandfather and those people, they knew a way of doing that. But they would tell you, nah, boy, I wouldn't go out tonight if I was you. I wouldn't go to that party if I was. They didn't know why they were saying that. They just had a feeling. We call it intuition. It's when you're paying tuition, but inside, because it costs something to have that level of information. Intuition. And those natives in those forest lands, those places where just the wrong step on the leaves would summon the wild animals to come get whoever was causing that noise. So they had to be very careful. You're talking about taqwa. You think taqwa just belongs to you? Those animals had taqwa, caution in the intellect, and registering in the nervous system first. They might not be able to explain it to you right away, but I don't think we should go in that direction. So we have created the human being. Fi in, that means it's inside of you. I told you, when you see that word fi in the Quran, don't play it lightly. It's talking about something that Allah has deposited inside of you. Metaphysically, spiritually, emotionally, ethically, morally, social, all of these things that represent non-tangibles in the life of a human being. And he has created you in the most excellent, Asani, from Hassan, the most excellent, the best, the good. And this is Asani Takwim. That represents balance and equilibrium. From the word Qaum, which means people. So he has created you to be able to establish the most excellent people on this earth. But who are the most excellent people? The ones who are operating with a taqweem, not taqwa, pardon me, not taqwa, taqweem. That's from qaum. That's from people. And qaum means to stand. We say iqamatu salat, iqama, qaum. That means people who are able to stand. People who are able to stand cannot stand without establishing standards. That's how all people stand and make progress forward. They have to first establish codes of behavior, codes of conduct, codes of civilization. They write them down, they become treaties and constitutions and all of these things that have served to move human beings forward evolutionally. We just grew to call them standards. But the word stand is in the word. And to stand, you have to have balance. You have to have equilibrium. You can't be too far on the right and then too far on the left and then fall forward because you're unbalanced. That's true for what is created as your intellect. You can't be an extremist. It's true for what you're holding on to emotionally. You can't be an extremist. It's true for what you're holding on to ethically, how you see right and wrong in the world, as it's to be applied to any people, regardless of their race or gender or nationality. You have to be able to see a balance in that and not judge them based on the content of what Dr. King said, on the color of your skin, but on the content of their character. And that's the human being in total. Thumma, that means after a long time has passed, radadnahu asfala safilin. Thereafter, we have unestablished him in a way that causes him to fall to the lowest level possible. That is in the human nature. What's doing that? It tells you, radadnahu. Nah, that's we did this. Who? What we? The forces in creation that you call fitra. This is the fitra par excellence. The fitra is not personal, my friend. I've told you that 1,000 times. It's not moral, like you think about moral. Like the fitra is going to help me because Allah created the fitra and I respect the fitra. That's not how the fitra. Like I said, if you jump off a 50-story building, it's flat, splat, and stuck like that. It doesn't have feelings like you think it does. The fitra is just nature, but it's mother nature. She cares for us like a mother. No, it shouldn't. It's not that kind of mother. It's matter. That kind of mother. Mother matter. You do the wrong thing to matter, matter will just do what it feels it needs to do to you. That's a long subject. We're not going to stay there. Concluding, certainly we have created the human being in the most excellent of organizational designs. However, we have thereafter allowed for him to be debased to the lowest of the low, meaning the things that are considered low. Nothing in reality is low. Allah created everything to have its own unique dignity. No matter how ugly you might think it is as a creature, no matter how smelly you might think it is as a part of the creation, the mud or whatever, But everything has its own unique dignity. So we're talking about those things that because of sense perception, we perceive them as being low. So that's his drop. That's his fall. You can see the word fall in the Arabic. Asfala. Asfala. That's where they get the English word asphalt. Because when you hit the asphalt and you don't have any soil down there to protect you, you're finished. The higher you fall from and hit the asphalt, if it's the third floor, you might make it. You might survive if you just jump from the third floor of your project building. But if you go up to the sixth and the 10th floor and the 20th floor of the projects and you don't hit the soil where some of the plants are, you might live, you break a few bones. But if there's nothing there but the asphalt, you are in trouble. That's why the higher you go, you got to be careful not to slip. You see it happening all of the time in the field of entertainment in our day and time. We consider these people to be stars. You know how far up that is? But Allah says in the Quran, when the stars fall, losing their luster. He starts a whole surah out with that line. When the stars fall, losing their shine, their brilliance. We used to think a lot of these people in Hollywood were brilliant people. Oh, brilliant actor, a wonderful dancer. And we give them all these accolades for talents that they do have, but we can't see the backstory behind the true personalities that are now interrupting the growth and development of our children and our children's children. Because our children now want to be what they see in that person, the total person. We want to be the womanizer, the manizer, or the whatever izer, along with having the talent. We want to hang out with Diddy, along with having all of this great talent. And we want to do all of the things that Diddy did. And we have lost our luster because we refuse to give up our lusts. Major lesson. The way to defeat this plan is to focus on what makes us the highest of those things considered high. For human beings, it is the pineal gland. I'm so happy this was brought up in the previous conversation. The emphasis on the pineal gland, the highest of the high in terms of the brain and its capacity. Look at what it says in Al-Baqarah, and we'll end on this note. This is from Surah 2, Ayat 24. And you can read the beginning of this surah for yourself so that you'll know the context if you're not familiar with it. But if you cannot, and of a surety you cannot, then fear the fire whose fuel is men and stones, which is prepared for those who reject faith. El-Kafirin, they're called. And the word for fear the fire is ittaqul nar. Have taqwa for the nar. Whose fuel, meaning whose energy source, is annas, men. And I've been teaching on that for weeks now. You should know the interpretation of annas. You know that if you don't regulate it properly, it can turn into annasi, and those people. But these people can become frantic. can become disengaged from reality? You're never quite sure because these people are being emotionally driven like cattle. So Allah says, have taqwa, meaning have caution, cautionary regard for the fire, whose fuel is men and stones. So what is this stone? It's given in the plural. You can see it very clearly. The S is on the end. So stones? What word is this? El-hijara. All of the way through. El-hijaratu. That tar marbuta at the end of it makes it feminine. But it doesn't make it plural. This is a singular word. And it has a definite article, which means it should have at least said the stones. El-hijara, the stones. The men and the stones. But it's not stones. It's indicative of one category, and that category is feminine, meaning it can be influenced by outside sources and influences. I submit that based on my research, this stone is the pineal stone. Which you also know has a fire. And if you get people who are not in control of their own emotional life to start dipping and dabbing with that level of fire, it can burn the whole world down in time. This is where we are in today's world's trajectory. Hijaratu is a feminine word, and it is also singular. I believe that is referring to the pineal stone. The root meanings for Hajara or HJR are connected to things that are, listen carefully, forbidden, barred, confined, prohibited, banned, or blocked. Think about the story of Hajar, Ibrahim's wife. She was all of those things. She was banished to the desert with her infant in need of water and nourishment. They had to cross a whole desert during the Hijrah. Same letters. The Hijrah from Mecca to Medina. So when you're being barred, when you're being confined from the place that you were used to, where your relatives knew you and loved you until you accepted this crazy idea of the oneness of the Creator and the oneness of mankind. And we can't have that. We're the great Arabs. And some of us are like, we can't have that because we're the great black man. We're the great people of Africa. Can't have no Indians up in here. The Chinese, no, let them stay where they are. We can't have that. Who let that Mexican in here? I'm not saying you're not supposed to have rules, boundaries, and limitations. You're supposed to be intelligently thought out. You have to have that, just like you got a lock on your front door. Because if you don't, and people find out that you don't, and they're not civilized, ooh, buddy, you're just asking for trouble. So what I'm saying is that civilization has to be worked out. It's not the job of these fuddy-duddy politicians to work out the issues of human growth and development leading to evolution. It's the job of the socially and spiritually conscious humans, and they come in all shapes and colors, all sizes, from all of the lands. All of the earth is making the contribution I'm talking about right now. And when so-called white people were in charge of the world, as they think they still are, many of them, that's when things began to go crazy because they were at a level of their human growth and development that wasn't all of the way civilized. In many cases, you had a savage mind attempting to civilize the world, and it was incongruent and became severely consequential for those choosing or searching for true human development. So we're at a crossover point right now where true humans have to be in the forefront. That's what all of this perplexity and complexity is all about right now. It's not who's the president. It makes no difference. The change is going to happen no matter who's in political office. Because we're talking about an energetic switcheroo right now taking place. And the energy is only being slated for those whose objective in the short and long run is to bring in true human life. And many other kinds of life are going to have to fall by the wayside. In many cases, physically fall by the wayside. Because nature is neutral. It doesn't care about your politics, your Democrat, Republican, liberal. It doesn't care what you are politically. It doesn't care about your wealth. It's not respective of your riches or your poorness or your in-between economics. That's your business to handle. Nature's business is to bring in that which is most suited for nature to accommodate. Have taqwa for the wombs that bore you. For it is Allah who is ever watching over you. Yeah. Nature is ever watching over you. But if you begin disrespecting mama, mama got something for you. You know what word I'm about to use. Since you already know what the word is, I'm not going to say it. She got something for you, or you know what. And she will do it without tears, a tear falling from her eyes. So it's for the human being now to stand up and grow up and begin respecting nature. As it is reported that our prophet did when he said, respect a grain of grass, a blade of grass, respect a morsel of salt. Can you bring your intellect to that level of development? If you can, boy, you're in the right class. It said respect a morsel, a grain of salt. Not hypothetically, really. Respect a drop of water. Do you turn your faucets off to the point where they don't drip unnecessarily? I had to learn that one from my wife. She said, did you turn the water all the way? She's sitting there counting the drops and counting how frequently they fall within a minute. She said, well, that's fault. 3 drops in a minute over there in that faucet. You need to come tighten that up. I said, what are you talking? She said, we're wasting water. I said, what? Really? And she had me sit there for a few minutes counting the drops that came from our bathroom faucet. That I was thinking is inconsequential. It's not going to reflect in the water bill. Not right now. Give it 2 years. And it surely will be of consequence. This is a beautiful creation that Allah has brought into existence. And those of us who want to continue playing our part in it should have a deep-rooted respect for the fitrah and not allow anybody to consciously change it in front of our faces. If it's in your family, do your best to make at least minor corrections. And minor corrections doesn't mean hollering at the top of your lungs because your daughter, your teenage daughter, came home with blue and pink hair. We had a daughter that came home with blue and pink hair. But once you have mastered the science of frequency modulation, you don't have to scream anymore after that. Sometimes it's just the way you look at a person that lets them know my mama don't like this. My daddy ain't supporting this. I'm not going to tell them what to do as a teenager when they were teenagers. But none of them are wearing pink and green hair today, blue stripes on their head and all of that. So this frequency modulation, it works. And it is the work that needs to be put in to qualify for the term Muslim, because it is the guaranteed measure for securing your peace. And that's P-E-A-C-E as well as P-I-E-C-E. So with that said, I'm going to turn the microphone back over to Nawa if she's still there and available. And if not, then we're going to close out. We've been with you long enough. And I think I've said enough, and most of you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Oh,
Hey, assalamu alaikum to you too on the phone.
how you doing?
You on the phone? Hey.
Who is
Yeah,
this?
a nice day work.
That
Yes,
sounds
sir.
like Kareem Abdul Salam. Is that you? Kareem, is that you?
Yes. This is his granddaughter.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm going to tell you, I had it in my mind. I said, when today's class is over, there's one call I have to make before the day is done.
I know that's
And that's
right.
a call to Kareem Abdul Salam.
Yes, sir. You hear that,
So
Grandpa? Yep.
we thank you.
Uh,
Okay. We'll get a chance to talk. All
yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. In fact, as soon as you're feeling up to it, you give me a call, a quick call.
Last, but I'm getting better.
I know you are.
Glad to
I
hear
can
you.
feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Praise
But I
be
want
to
to
We
God.
all
know
have
it.
been thinking about you, brother. We all
Absolutely.
have been thinking about you.
Absolutely. But we're going to
Alhamdulillah.
see our brother soon enough, probably in person. If y'all can get those politics straight over there in your town. I'm almost scared to go there now. You take care of what you got to take care of, and we're going to meet in the middle. Okay, my friend?
Yes, sir.
Glad to hear from you.
And family of Dream, please continue to do the excellent work that you're doing. That's called love with a capital L. And
Alhamdulillah.
we are his classmates, and we truly appreciate all that you've done. He's done a lot for this guy sitting in front of you, the instructor, a lot for me when he brought me to your town, to his town, and
We'll do you
celebrated
too.
what it was I was bringing there to him in a college environment among human beings who were college graduates and high school graduates and other kinds of graduates interested in education.
Yes, sir.
And he laid it out royally for me.
Praise be
Absolutely
to
royally.
God.
So we appreciate you. Thank you for doing what you do.
Yes,
And
sir.
keep us
Thank you.
posted. Keep us posted. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Indeed. All right. So for the rest of you, this is time for us to close out, check out, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no more in there. I don't believe that. So.
Alhamdulillah. So hopefully by this time next week, Kareem may be able to give us some on-camera time and some words of future and further encouragement from himself for us. We want him to know that we love him deeply. He's an integral part. He's a pillar of Nunetics. And I will make it a point to find one of the videos where he makes a presentation. So in case you don't know him, because we have a few new members now, you'll see why we love and respect this man so much. You'll see why. Okay? So until that time, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we pray. Yes, indeed, anytime.
Places this kid Darius had access.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Imran.
Purchase order for DMS.
All right. So we pray that you keep the peace, that you honor the peace,
Yes,
that
sir.
you respect the peace that we call the peacemaker, the Muslim, the true Muslim. Whether you've taken a shahadatain or not, if you're holding peace in your heart and you're accepting all of the great things that your source creator has brought into your life, is starting with the people in your family.
Yes.
If you don't accept your family and you're accepting everybody else, you're already behind the 8 ball. That's not the way to progress. But you have to begin by accepting you first and foremost in all of what you're going through. And then accept the people who are around you who are in positions to support you in whatever way they can.
Yes, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah. So until the day comes when we can see each other face to face again, as I mentioned, and there are others in your situation also. And I
Yes,
know they're
sir.
still with us. They're still with us in spirit.
They are.
But they do what I always say the seasons are doing. When the seasons change, there ain't a whole lot of noise. That's how I know it's a fitra change. It's a quiet movement. And it doesn't mean that the previous season is not still there because the seasons change. Sometimes you'll be in a totally different season, but then Indian summer will come in. It'll be summertime all over again, and it ain't summer. This is our Indian summer with our brother. And that heat and that light is still being felt by you, my friend. So thank you. As I greet you with the greetings of peace that obligate each and every one of us to keep the peace. Salamun alaikum to you all.
Alaikum assalam.
Alaikum assalam.
Indeed.